Okay, boleh, jom. Dah live dah. Telukas. Okay, dah ada audience ni? Okay. Dah nampak dah live tu?
Dah.
Okay, sorry. Alright, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Marilah kita panjatkan kesyukuran kepada Allah SWT di atas limpah kurnianya, ya. Allah merancang perancangan tangannya sendiri dan kita sebagai makhluknya ni memang tertakluk kepada perancangan Allah SWT. Tahar pun sebenarnya tak menyangka dan menduga bahawa datang masa bulan Mac ni, tengoknya jumpalah the beast of the east ni, kan. Kalau ikutkan tak ada hal ni lah Tahar dekat Khatulistiwa Tuhan nak jumpa the beast ni. Tengok Allah memang datang sini, kan, and then first hand experience it. So dan bukan tu sajalah, maknanya now I realise macam mana dalam keadaan cuaca yang tak menentu ni, ya, perancangan kita memang kena banyak contingency plan, dan itu salah satu daripada tarbiyah untuk dakwah ni lah, kan. So kita have plan, tapi Allah akan ada plan rancangan. Dan dalam konteks ni kita sebenarnya kena ada satu balance yang kena ada, ya. Dr. mungkin nak ambil peluang untuk ambil kesempatan pada pihak penganjur. Don't feel bad, I know you have tried your best. Contohnya tadi ni pagi Dr. Har ambil train nak ke Birmingham, dan daripada situ pula nanti nak kelas. So tentu yang ni semua agaknya kena tukar plan macam-macam ni. Tak apa, nak ucapkan pada Rin, ya, kasih pada tuan rumah, Rin husband and family, kerana sudi untuk at the wee hour, kan, tukar plan and then accommodate. I know as a host, you feel that most probably selalu guest datang masa paling kita dah prepare, kan, betul. Lepas tu guest pula, alamak Dr. Har pula, kan. You feel tak apa, insyaAllah. So hari ni actually Dr. Har diminta untuk cover satu topik yang memang masih sedang menjadi kita punya priority kalau di Malaysia tu. Wanita IKRAM bergabung jalin dan dengan kerjasama beberapa stakeholder, dalam konteks sexual reproductive health ni. Dan sebenarnya kita ada satu program campaign Malaysian against pornography, dan Dr. Har memang diminta juga oleh satu company yang tak sebut mesti Astaghfirullahalazim banyak-banyak, kan, Durex, kan, ya. So Durex ni dia Astaghfirullahalazim, Durex ni dia memang dia official condom of Olympic Games, ya. Yes, so macam tu sekali lah dia punya banyak duit dia. Cumanya Durex dia buat satu kajian pada 2015. It's actually a world survey lah, tapi dia punya local players Durex Malaysia buat, and then they spend a lot of money on that. Dia tanya online for kita punya adolescent, and that was the most recent survey lah pada Malaysian youth as well as youth all over the world, kan. Tapi yang Malaysian punya statistik of course become my concern and concern untuk kita di Malaysia, sebab kita tengok bahawa knowledge memang masih lagi di tahap yang amat sederhana. And then of course bila knowledge tu dah tak berapa tinggi dah, ataupun tak keep up dengan apa yang ada ni, kita punya anak-anak kita punya attitude and practice pun it's actually very worrying, ya. Maknanya they are involved with high risk sexual behaviour, and it's mainly because of their lack of knowledge, ya. Jadi strategi yang kita buat is not talking to the adolescents sahaja. Of course that is our main target, cumanya kita realise that the parents, particularly adult macam in the society, we are ill equipped. Memang kurang sangat kita punya kemahiran untuk deliver this thing. Walaupun mungkin I was a bit more hopeful lah pasal Dr. punya campaign pasal sexual reproductive health ni agaknya dah 20 tahun lebih lah. Close to 25 years, 27 years dah. Masih dalam Wanita gym dulu pun masa Dr. jadi ketua Wanita tu kita punya main fokus juga. Tapi I was thinking that when the younger generation of parents yang lebih educated ni jadi parents sekarang ni lah kan, I thought they would be better dealing with this. Tapi rupanya tak juga, and it's mainly of two things. Satu, kita punya aspect sexual reproductive health tu pun, especially for adolescent and children kan, dia pun sekarang ni dia punya information explosion together with the internet digital punya advancement ni lah, it become very challenging. Because now we realize that anak-anak kita ada so many sources of information, Masa zaman Dr. dulu, awal-awal dulu when internet wasn't really, the main source of knowledge, senang sikit kita macam boleh kepung yang ni tak dapat tahu lagi, so nanti tunggu dia besar sikit kan kita boleh bagi tahu yang ni. Nowadays tak boleh dah, it's just, knowledge becomes so accessible, it's just a click away, and then you realize that you cannot have control 24/7 every moment with your children, so you do not know where they are going. And of course knowledge yang awal yang sampai kat diorang tu is always conflicting dengan value yang kita bagi. So there's definitely a big discrepancy there. And then dan kita memang kita pun sebagai parents during our time when we were raised by our parents as teenagers, kita tak ada isu yang ni. Of course, I'm sure kalau you tanya your parents pun, they were having headache juga. Macam you all punya headache lah kan. But when you were younger kan. Tapi I guess now, kita punya headache lagi besar lagi. So hari ni Dr. ingat nak about 1 hour macam tu. Lama sangat kan? Okay, 1 hour I do not know lah how many of you actually watching this in the comfort of your living room. And I'm sure lah kan, bila dah dekat living room sendiri tu start on, start off kan, nampak Dr. Hal tak nampak kan because I mean I leave it to you and I leave it to Allah SWT untuk decide siapa antara kita ni yang ada rezeki untuk dapat information hari ni. But I will always start dengan this Kahoot dulu. I guess you can actually try daripada wherever you are. This is a gamification, just nak tengok how much you know about sexuality. It's going to be in bahasa Melayu. You all pergi kat kahoot.it, take out your handphone masing-masing. Yang kat sini apa? Boleh? Kahoot.it. Then dia akan minta game pin. You put your game pin tu. And then nanti dia minta nickname. So you just give me your nickname. It should be appearing there now. Tak ada, tak apa. Tak payahlah kat yang lain. Yang ni pun okey je. Cuma kalau ada bunyi tu, those for yang auditory sikit tu dia seronok lah sikit. Okay. Okay. Alright. Okay, cuba. Shy, you're not shy. You're here. Yeah. Yang punya ada ni. Siapa yang nama tak berapa senonoh kan, akhwat London. Nanti akan Ishting Aisyah ada. Nama yang elok-elok sikit ya, kalau ada yang nama tak berapa senonoh tu, I can kick you out. My student selalu ada sekali tu, dia letak vagina. I said, tak apa nakal kan. I can just ada hari apa lah tu, Umi pula Dr. buat ni. Lepas tu dia tengah lapar, so tu dia lapar. Dia tu lapar 1, lapar 2, lapar 3. Alright, I think this will just gauge lah ya berapa ramai yang dapat this access. Baru 5 tahun orang, alamak. Ada lagi tak? Tak ada kot. Dah masuk dah semua ni? Alright. Okay, you know this one, the game ni, mainly ada questions on the screen. Yang keluar kat screen you all is just the color that represent the choices. Ya, ada 4 choices of answers nanti, you all choose lah mana satu. So, ya? Alright lah, boleh start. Okay, kita start ya. Ada berapa soalan ni? Ada 5 soalan aja, ya. Are you ready? Okay. Definisi sexuality meliputi, apakah dia, how do you define sexuality lah ya? Aktiviti seksual, keinginan seksual, kualiti kehidupan seksual, atau masturbasi atau onani. I am not saying there's only one answer ke apa ke lah, pantai lah, but you have to give one. Okay, habis. Yang lain, ramai yang tak boleh masuk tu, sangat-sangat lagi tak apa. Okay. Alright, ada 5 orang yang jawab daripada 20 tadi tu. Yeah, so you all guys tengah struggling ke apa kan tu. Actually, I will accept all the answers except masturbation ataupun onani, atau merancap lah kalau bahasa Melayu dia. So daripada 5 orang tadi, I think memang 3 orang pilih kualiti kehidupan seksual. If this sexual bond, it's actually defined as sexuality juga, keinginan pun ni. You can imagine dia banyak definisi sebenarnya. But not masturbation, ya. But I'm just telling you that masa nak tahap pergi jumpa parents apa semua ni, nanti mestilah ada 4-5 orang yang akan put masturbation juga. So that's actually how people selalunya define sexuality. Tak siapa yang menang. Oh, me, okay. I do not know me kat mana orangnya. Ada? Okay. Siapa si ni? Aduh, okay. Okay, next. Dimension pula. Dimensi sexuality termasuk. What are the sexual dimension? Biological, cognitive, economy, spiritual. Okay, okay. Alright, masuk lagi. Nampak kan? Clear kan? Okay, lagi 5 seconds. Okay. Biological betul, cognitive betul, economical is not one of the dimensions, I'll let you know. Spiritual pun betul. Tapi I think because I'm facing people yang mungkin more scientific kan, banyak pergi dah biological tau, ya. And most of the time pun, parents and adult will always choose biological. So that's actually what yang kita ingat. Kalau tengok sexuality yang kita ingat the biological aspect, sebenarnya dia banyak dimension lain. Okay, tak apa. Oh, mi lagi. Nom dah buat kot Nom. Betul-betul. Tadi. Now, tadi tu dimension, sekarang ni komponen pula. Apa dia komponen sexuality? Sejarah, politik, perundangan, etika. Okay. Ada yang tak jawab ni. Ya, Madya kan. Okay. Right, all of them. Memang that's why sexuality ni banyak komponen. And as always, agaknya yang depan I ni semua yang jenis baik-baik kan. Boleh choose etika yang lebih. You know, when it comes talk about component and then you choose etika ni. Kat mana-mana pula tak tahu pergi. You would want, you know, some ethical punya boundary for sexuality. Rin pula. Okay, Rin. Okay. Lawan ya. Siapa yang menang dinner kat rumah Rin kan. Next. Okay, sikap terhadap sexuality. What is actually our attitude to sexuality? Adakah attitude yang seimbang, neutral, liberal and conservative? Just choose lah mana satu. Okay kan? No, okay. Yang dengar. Okay. Alright, lagi 5 seconds. Okay. I actually will not accept neutral because you cannot be neutral to sexuality. And that is our problem. Selalu kita rasa, oh I'm neutral to sexuality. Okay, ada pun okay, tak ada pun okay. Semerang, you know. That is actually, you're just trying to be, well, most probably what you meant is actually seimbang agaknya. that is better daripada neutral. You know, neutral is like you tak understand pun, you know. But seimbang is actually lain kan. Seimbang is actually taking a stand. You know? Of course, liberal is the other extreme and conservative is the next extreme. So, for example, that neutral ni, I think you are just cheating yourself sebenarnya. There's no way you can be neutral with sexuality. Okay. Well, that's still debatable kan, tapi Syai pun naik lah. Of course lah, ada orang yang tak boleh jawab, tak boleh terima jawapan tu. Tak apa, nanti that's why the reason we should be discussing this lah ya. Now, last one. Guru terbaik untuk pendidikan seksual adalah guru sekolah, ibu bapa, media, masyarakat. Interesting to see how you all ni ha. Okay. Alright. Alhamdulillah lah kan, sebabnya ibu-ibu yang ayah yang dengar ni semua prihatin, so ya. But okay, alhamdulillah media tak ada orang letak. Media dia bukan guru yang terbaik lah, tapi dia yang paling efektif buat masa ni. Effective doesn't mean best kan, ya. Okay, masyarakat, cikgu sekolah ni ada juga ke yang kata cikgu sekolah? It'll be too late for cikgu sekolah. I will tell you why. Ya, kalau you leave it to cikgu sekolah lah untuk bagi pendidikan. Why do parents choose guru sekolah ni? Sebabnya it depends on your definition of sexuality juga. Ya? And that is the reason why you choose. Siapa yang menang? Tak pun dia. Weh, Syah. Okay, Ri nombor 2. And Mika. Ya, siapa Mika? Tak ada kat sini. Okay. Ini nombor 3 pula. Okay, actually, I can actually get the result. Ya? Kalau you tengok, ni the top 4. Yang kita ni kenapa yang dia tidur merah ni? Rasanya dia ada macam ni. Okay. I can actually download ni directly. Just nak beritahu you all lah kan. And I can have an Excel file. So kalau you jadi cikgu, you can actually get your marks for your student terus. Yeah. So you tak payah kena transfer semua lah. This is how I do my quiz. So this is my overall performance. And if I actually go to the final score, I can actually tell siapa dapat berapa, siapa jawab betul, which answer yang kena ni. This is summary mana soalan yang ada orang yang tak betul langsung. And question wise, siapa yang jawab and everything. Okay, alright. So now, okay. Datuk. Okay, are we ready? Boleh ya? Oh, dia bagi. Okay. So they are having this audience program new. Sorry. Alright. Okay. So you all, jadinya I will be now going for my slide ni. Siapa control the slide? Tengok. Kan? Kat dalam tu, okay. So yang ni tak payah untuk yang kat sini lah kan? Untuk yang kat sini pakai jugalah kot. Okay. Kat mana tadi? Soal pula yang tak ada slide tak kan? Okay. Okay. Alright. So sekarang ni Dr. Har akan go for my slide now. Kesihatan seksual reproduktif anak-anak ni, apa peranan kita. Dr. Har akan, next slide tu kita akan tengok kandungan dia. Okay, Faisal boleh ya? Okay, next sikit. Okay. Yang tu kita just go into 2 parts sebenarnya. Dr. Har just compress saja semua. I'm not actually wanting to lecture you ya. Sebenarnya just macam kita recap di apa orang kata somebody kena jaga kat sini. So kena just and then kita tengok bahagian satu ni sekilas pandang sexuality. I think this is the most important part lah sebenarnya tau. And then lepas tu of course kita pergi pada bahagian kedua pendidikan sexuality tu, more of apa, mengapa, siapa, bila kan, and then what this my suggestion for you all Okay, seterusnya tu kita tengok pula yang apa, sexuality kahut tadi. So I guess you know little bit about ni. Okay, now tengok definition Bila kata in the sexuality resource center for parents ni pun, bila dia define sexuality, dia kata dia tak boleh nak dapat the actual capture the whole definition of sexuality. Cumanya kalau you tengok the next question tu, do you really know what sex is? So kalau tengok next slide tu kita akan tengok okay, teruskan kat bawah lagi. Yes. If you look into that, sebenarnya kita kena realize that sometimes definition kita on sexuality tu dengan definition anak-anak kita atau orang di sekeliling kita pun berbeza juga. In fact, it's not surprising that kalau husband and wife ada definition of sexuality berbeza sikit. You know, men tend to define it differently than women, for instance. So itu sebabnya kita ada banyak discrepancy atau gaps when you're talking about this. Then suddenly anak kita dah makin besar pula. They have their own definition pula kan. If you, siapa yang ada anak-anak dah pergi sekolah semua, can just ask them and they si Fatih kat depan ni kan. Tanya si Fatih ni kan, dia akan ada definition ni sendiri. Okay. Next slide. Kalau you tengok pula definition alright. This is actually from the same website ni. Dia kata these are one of the list. It's non-exhaustive lah. Tapi kalau you tengok, most of the definition of what sex can be, they are all purely physical. It includes masturbation, kissing lah, and then ada manual sex ke, vaginal sex ke, anal sex ke, but they are all purely physical. Jadi itu yang masalah kita sekarang ni, bila sebut pasal sexuality dia ni benda yang ni, and then that's why kita as parent Astaghfirullahalazim, panjang lah kan kita no way, tak boleh cakap apa pasal benda ni. So habis lah discussion tu. So the next slide is important. Okay, next slide. In fact semua slide penting lah kan. Okay, now I want you all to realize sexuality ni dia bukan hanya tentang hubungan seks atau kelamin sahaja. In fact, it is actually a very important aspect of human life, men and women. Until you know internalize this, baru kita boleh move on. Kalau you still kata, alah seks ni ada pun okey, tak ada pun okey, dia tak boleh macam tu. It is actually part of kita citra. Dan the most important thing, sexuality ni dia ada at least 5 dimension, at least. So kalau katalah we have the analogy would be having a big house macam tu, nama rumah tu sexuality, dia at least ada 5 bilik dalam tu. There are actually 5 rooms inside there. Okay, one is okay, next slide je. Next slide. Senang nak cerita. Okay, one is actually biology. Biological dimension ni, it means this is more on you punya, the physiology of sexuality tu, ataupun sexual intercourse. What are the organs involved? These are all biology kan. Cumanya bila yang tadi kan, dalam spesies yang Dr. buat telefon, you all pun bila sexuality dia biology. And that's why you suddenly become so uncomfortable with it, because you're just talking on the biological aspect. Tapi sebenarnya sexuality ada another 4 rooms, 4 dimension. Yang satu lagi is that cognitive, akal, intellectual. The most important sexual organ is your brain. Ni yang kadang ada mak ayah bila dengar tu, first time dengar tu Prof. It depends on your brain. Maknanya pusat ke bawah ni, your genitalia tu will only being used according to how you see it, how you value sexuality. Kalau kita rasa macam any Tom, Dick and Harry je, it's just sexual pleasure, itu yang boleh dengan siapa je, one night stand ke apa, boleh lah kan. Tapi if you know that this is actually nasab keturunan manusia yang dijaga oleh maqasid syariah, of course dia jadi lain lah pula kan. Okay, ataupun you rasa okay, nanti kita bincangkan tentang sikap juga. Itu semua kerana your cognitive punya, your tasawur ataupun your world view about sexuality. So tu dimension yang kedua. Dimension yang ketiga adalah it has emotional dimension. Ya, sexuality ni dia tak boleh divulge of emotion. Jadi kalau engage in sexual relationship dia mesti enhance positively your emotion. It must actually bring in happiness, bring in somebody who is so intimate and so close to you. You feel love and you are loving another person gitu kan. So that's why sexual relationship ni dia kena consented by both people. Kalau ada yang seorang tak consent and somebody, you know, force him or herself on this person, then it become rape. And because it's going to leave behind a very negative emotion to you. Walaupun husband and wife contohnya, katalah husband ni tak peduli pun isteri dia tu sebenarnya is really having pain ke atau macam mana ke, tapi dia just thinking about dia sendiri saja. So it will leave behind a very, you know, a very deep cut inside you, kan? Yeah. So that's why emotion is very important. Yeah. Now besides that, there's a social dimension pula. Yang ni macam ni lah kan? Ya. Kalau lah misalnya social dimension ni, kita ni just duduk seorang-seorang aja, betapa kat rumah kita ke kat mana-mana. We don't have to talk about sexuality lah kan? Huh? The fact that we are social animal, we have to stay with other people, then it become very important. How do you relate with another person who is of the same gender with you or a different gender, somebody younger or somebody older? So that's why kita barulah kita tahu bahawa, you know, we have to actually have some rules and some guideline about how you should connect with another person. Ya, kan? Orang yang mungkin mahram ke tak mahram ke, ya, somebody yang mungkin daripada kita punya own direct bloodline dengan seorang lagi yang mungkin tak ada kaitan dengan kita. So these are all the social dimension of sexuality. And finally, the last but never the least, the spiritual dimension. Yang ini ni ada orang yang kata, ya ke sexuality ni ada spiritual dimension? Of course, if you realize daripada dulu kan, human ni dia selalu relate sexuality dia tu sebagai a part of being human and the way you relate yourself with God contohnya. Ya. Kalau you tahu the Hindu civilization, they have Kama Sutra. And Kama Sutra tu is actually all this sexual act which is actually a part of your devotion to God. Can you imagine that? Kita pun jangan susah hati lah. Kalau orang yang kahwin tu, insyaAllah pahalanya lagi banyak. Solat dia lagi dikata Allah lah tu hadis ke apa ke. Tapi anyway, kita tengok macam adalah di situ siapa yang dah berkahwin tu dah tenang dah, agamanya separuh daripada agamanya dah diselesaikan contohnya. So it brings out that when you have your sexual needs been fulfilled, dia menimbulkan satu ketenangan dalam jiwa tu. So that is actually very spiritual kan. Okay, itu dia punya dimension. Okay, next slide. The next slide is actually the component of sexuality. So sebelum nak pergi ke component, when you are talking of sexuality and having that view sekarang ni kalau anak kita tanya soalan, then it's very easy for you to okay, soalan ni dekat bilik mana ni? I think that is very empowering. Most of the parents yang bincang after Dr. bagi input ini kata that view, that understanding yang mengatakan sexuality ni ada banyak dimension to actually empower me to talk more about it. Sebab yang buatkan kita takut tu sebab bila tanya je kita tahu, oh ini biologi ni. Satu, I bukan biologi teacher. Duanya, ya Allah nak cakap macam mana ni kan ya. Tapi kadang-kadang soalan anak kita tu, kita mungkin tak payah jawab dari konteks biologi sangat. Kita kena cakap tu dari more on cognitive. Ataupun this is spiritual dimension of sexuality. I would encourage you all every time you discuss, or this sexuality punya issue is brought forward, you have to discuss it in all these dimensions, and then it become very, very, balanced kind of discussion. Okay. Now sebelum tu pula kita kata komponen pula. Komponen sexuality lagi lah banyak. Tu. Psychological ada history juga, ada perundangan ya. Ada juga kat situ ethics. Tu tadi. Sexuality ni just like any other things, dia macam pisau kita kat dapur ni lah ya. Without it, kita tak boleh nak masak pun. You cannot cut. But with it juga, you boleh bunuh your enemy kan. It's the same juga. Sexuality ni pun macam tu juga ya. So that's why dia kena ada ethics dia. Ada morality dia. Unfortunately, people who are, who subscribe to, there should be no boundaries. Yeah? You should be able to express yourself. Ni nanti yang the liberal group ni, dia paling tak suka ada ethics tu. Yeah, because the ethics is the one yang going to regulate your sexual behaviour kan. And being human, you tak nak being regulated pun. Tapi nanti jadi kelang kabut lah kalau you tak ada ethics ni kan. Okay, so this is actually ni. Saya nak berhenti, saya nak tanya yang ni. You're still with me? Okay, nampak macam fokus dah tu kan ya. Okay. So apa, I need you to focus, otherwise I'll be dozing off because I'm tengah jet lag. Okay, anyway. Next one ni is actually kita punya attitude. Attitude to sexuality ni dia ada tiga komponen ya. And you decide yourself where you are in the spectrum. Now the most yang paling kanan sekali ya. Dah tahu bukan kata kanan kiri macam ni lah, it's just putting it there lah. But if in the extreme right would be a very conservative punya attitude. Yeah? Where basically you tengok sex tu as melambangkan kerendahan moral contohnya kan. Dan manusia ni hina kerana dia engage with sexual activity ni ya. Dan manusia ni kalau nak jadi mulia, dia kena mampu mengekang nafsu syahwat dia. And this is where people yang subscribe to this, dia anggap celibacy ataupun tak kahwin langsung tu is actually the one that will naikkan darjat you. Faham ya? So those yang mungkin kita tahu ada strong staunch Catholic Christian, dia akan tak nak married to the church for instance, or dia tak nak pun terlibat dengan sexual activity tu, itu actually it's a very conservative and restrictive, I would say restrictive lah ya, restrictive punya view. And this is sempit dan mengungkung, and of course tak fitrah. Ni yang tak fitrah. Now we know kan, some of the priests semuanya. Ya. Dr. Han tak letak macam tu. I think there is, if you talk about Sufism, there is actually a few level of Sufism juga kan. And I think orang betul Adawiyah dia punya, kita nampak dia tu dalam konteks itu. So somebody yang memang agaknya diri dia penuh dengan cinta pada Allah, dia tak fikir pun pasal manusia ni. But there will be extreme cases lah, and I wouldn't put it as this. Ya. Maknanya yang ni memang dia deny fitrah tu. Okay, sorry you all, I have to talk of my voice. kena lawan dah ni, okay? Alright, there is actually sempit dan mengungkung. This view is very restrictive sebenarnya. And then at the other end of that is actually yang liberal pula. After you have suppressed human nature atau fitrah, of course bila the pendulum will swing to the other side, then you become very liberalized pula lah. Yang ni very restrictive, semua tak boleh kan. Lepas tu yang sentuh semua boleh pula. Manusia dia macam tu lah kan. Yang liberal view ni, dia akan anggap sex tu is your expression. Sigmund Freud dia kata everything that happens to you, you can trace balik, it is because you have curbed your sexual desire. Itu Freud pula. Sigmund Freud dengan dia punya psychological theory dia kan. So, oleh sebab tu untuk jadi manusia yang mencapai potensi dia, you tak boleh kekang langsung and you cannot limit your sexual expression. I don't care who you are, where you are from, what you did, as long as I love you. Macam tu kan. So yang tu macam lagu dah. Itu yalah yang tu yang kita kata ni. So dia jadi lepas bebas pula. And I guess here in us staying in a society that subscribe more towards this. Yeah, so dia tak nampak why we need to segregate our boys and girls. Why do you have to have all these do's and don'ts when it comes to sexuality kan. So of course in between the two extremes tu ada satu yang lebih seimbang, yang lebih sejahtera. Yang ini apabila kita mengakui bahawa seks adalah komponen penting dalam kehidupan manusia, you cannot deny that. Tapi like any other thing, kita perlu susun atur dan tangani aspek sexuality ni dengan baik. So this is actually satu a balanced view lah. Cumanya where we are here kan on this page, dia macam ni je lah you all. Kalau you tend to take a balanced view on anything, those who are conservative or restrictive in their view will always see you as liberal. So bila Dr. cakap pasal topik ni, oh liberal Dr. ni pakai tudung tapi otak kuning. Yang cakap pasal seks tu. And that is something yang dia akan tengok pasal, because your view is always more liberal daripada dia kan. But when you're talking to the liberalists and the radical feminists yang have no string attached ni kan. So bila kita cerita pasal ni, you are still very conservative. You are definitely orthodox, you are definitely digressive, you are not really progressive. Itulah. Okay, so it depends on you lah. They will never see you as liberal or coming close to them. And you will be forever a conservative. So after a while, you have to make your stand. And once this thing coming, you memang tahu punya. I know. You are definitely more conservative than me. You will always find my view very radical and liberal. Tapi bila cakap pula dengan yang radical pula, you sound so conservative. Kan? So tak apa. Yang tu kita kena clear. Okay, next slide. Dekat Malaysia ni, I think kita ada problem sikit sebabnya anak-anak kita, dia dapat mesej yang berbeza ni. Ni kalau kat Ceras tu memang banyak lah this iklan-iklan haram yang dia gantung dekat tiang-tiang traffic lights atau tiang-tiang lampu kan. And then di BKL nanti dia akan cabut semua ni. Dalam 2 hari keluar balik dah baru kan. I do not know any one of you pernah dial nombor tu ke? Alhamdulillah bin zalik lah kan. Tapi dia adult toys dengan ubat kuat lelaki kan. So what does this mean? Sebenarnya masyarakat kita, kalau dalam keadaan kita, we like to think that we are very conservative lah kan, kita ni orang yang yang sopan santun, maaf lah kan alih-alih kucing tu Sebenarnya masyarakat kita tengok sexual relationship tu sama ada dia lihatnya sebagai sekadar permainan physical pleasure sahaja kan, adult toys, ataupun satu lagi dilihatnya sebagai satu domain di mana berlakunya pertandingan dan persaingan. Siapa kuat, siapa lemah. Who is strong and who is weak. Kan? And then, this ubat-ubat kuat ni Halizah aphrodisiac lah sebenarnya. Kan? Dan dia bincang ni dekat kedai-kedai kopi. And then, of course, itu yang ada kopi, jantan lah, tupai lah, tongkat semua ni tongkatnya, kacip semua nak dikacipnya. Ni dia. Okay, so anak-anak kita sebenarnya having a very different message dari dekat bila dia keluar dalam masyarakat dia kan. Okay, so finally kita let's agree on one thing. Okay, next slide Faizal. Kita tengok bahawa sexuality tu is actually a delicate issue. I think we have to accept that lah dia macam this raw egg ni lah, okay. You squeeze raw egg tu, dia pecah juga kat tangan dia. Betul Ataupun you nak biarkan, you lambung aja dia. And after dia melambung tu, you try tangkap dengan tangan you pun, sama ada you tangkap atau terlepas mas jatuh dekat lantai, dia pecah juga. So ada orang kata, Prof kita buat telur pindang lah macam tu. Jangan telur ni kan, jangan telur mentah. Telur pindang serupa juga. So I guess we have to know how to do this. Next slide. And I think kita having this kind of need. Next slide. Okay. Kita ada this what I said, moral panic ni tau. Where parents, kita ada this kebimbangan bahawa apabila kita involvekan remaja into, in their own learning process, kita bagi ada klinik remaja yang khas. This is actually what Kementerian Kesihatan provide And then kita bagi pendidikan sexuality. Kita bagi pula kontraseptif punya knowledge and also access. Ada pula rumah perlindungan remaja kalau misalnya remaja ni hamil wanita kan. Vaksin HPV pula lagi, alhamdulillah macam ni kan. So ni yang semuanya tu kita anggap benda-benda ni akan menyebabkan remaja kita terlibat dengan seks rambang. Lebih ramai lagi. To me, parents yang having all this, they are having moral panic to me, you know. And the response to this is, oh jangan bagi dia, you know, any service, health service, jangan bagi dia knowledge. Semuanya jangan gitu. So I think this moral panic is actually a very important reflection to us. Tunjukkan bahawa kita sendiri tak ada confidence in our parenting. Next slide. Kalau kita tengok sebenarnya masalah kesihatan seksual and reproductive ni bawah. Okay. Masalah dia ni sebenarnya yang kita nampak dia punya simptom ni adalah kehamilan remaja, pengukuran, jangkitan kelamin, HIV, AIDS semua ni. Ni semuanya dia hanya buah daripada satu pokok yang kita semai akar umbi dia tu lama dah. Ya, biji benih dia tu. Tu akar atau punca masalah ni adalah kurangnya pengetahuan, agama, penghayatan agama kurang, runtuhnya institusi keluarga, gaya hidup yang materialistik kan, pengaruh rakan sebaya dan juga media. So all this sebenarnya menjadi orang kata punca kepada satu permasalahan yang lebih besar. Ranting-ranting cabang dia, pergaulan bebas, zina, ya, lagi handadah dan alkohol. These are all yang buatkan kita tak resilient enough, and finally sexual conduct kita mencerminkan apa orang kata kekurangan yang ada ni. So if you really want to handle this, we have to go to akar umbi dia tu. Yeah? Okay, next slide. Dr. Halizah nak bagi some overview ya. Next slide. Tentang salah laku seksual ni ha. So this is just orang kata a brief through. I'm not actually focusing on each one of that. So macam Malaysian Against Pornography yang dilupuri oleh Wanita IKRAM di Malaysia ni, dia memang specifically pick up the issue of pornography. Tapi melalui itu kita ada opportunity untuk bincang yang lain. Sebab it's actually the same fruit. But it's just different from the same tree macam itulah. Okay. So next slide. I just want to let you know there are a lot of infographic these days. This is coming from Family Orbit. Dia kata there is such thing as what we call smartphone addiction, you know, and they call it iPhone separation anxiety. And this is a real phenomenon, dia kata, where those who are separated from their iPhone have these feelings of unpleasantness, an increase in heart rate and blood pressure and decrease in cognition. Dia memang macam orang ada withdrawal lah, macam you ketai dadah ke alkohol ke apa, you tak dapat benda tu, you jadi menggelabah semacam kan, bangun tidur je itu sampai dulu, for instance kan, you rasa macam ruginya you tidur. what is happening in your phone tu kan. Well, there is actually a symptoms of addiction in a way. 12.5% of people overall, they are outright addicted to their smartphone. I think this statistic is 2015 punya macam tu ya. Okay, next slide. This is our own data 2014, di every 10 years, dia akan LPPKN ni, Lembaga Penduduk dan Pembangunan Keluarga Nasional ni, di bawah Jabatan Pembangunan Wanita dan Masyarakat ya. Dia memang buat this KPKM, Kajian Penduduk dan Keluarga Malaysia. So kita tengok dalam antara indeks yang dia tengok adalah this perilaku seksual remaja, and definitely there is an increase of pendedahan bahan lucah yang only 18.8% masa 2004. 10 years later, macam sekarang ni, it's about 35%. And it's not surprising because the access to internet is actually also double and triple kan ya. So that's actually the reason why anak-anak kita terdedah dengan bahan lucah ni, dan dia boleh seawal 13 tahun or even younger. Okay. Now seterusnya, kalau kita tengok pula pornografi, apa ni pornografi sebenarnya? I do not know whether you know what it means ya. Okay, next slide is actually definition. Kalau you tengok dalam Merriam-Webster ke next slide. Okay. Kita tengok definition of pornography ni is actually any materials either it's a moving motion picture ke, or a still picture ke, or maybe just auditory sound saja ke, but the intention is actually for sexual excitement and arousal. You boleh tengok gambar ke ataupun video ke, or just voice saja. Tapi dia punya intention memang untuk sexual excitement and arousal. So macam I always give contoh my student, medical student, kalau dia tengok buku yang dia ada, anatomy ke apa, astaghfirullahaladzim, macam-macam lah gambar dia kan. But they are not supposed to be pornographic material. Because it's not intended to cause sexual excitement and arousal. Tapi katalah any of my medical student dia tengok gambar tu, dia jadi shock pula, itu salah dia. It's not actually the book. So this is actually what pornography means. Okay, next slide. And of course, there's a lot of things juga you all boleh baca tentang how pornography actually can become addicted, can actually lead to addiction. And this super juga dia punya neural pathway sama dengan addiction, any other thing. It's just that bahan yang jadi addiction itu je yang berbeza. So pornography can become one. So just like any other addiction, they need a higher dose to reach that feeling of pleasure tu. So selalu agaknya dia tengok satu cukup dah, lepas tu dia kena tengok 2 jam, lepas tu dia tengok 3 jam, 4 jam, and finally pornography occupy dia punya whole of dia punya life. You all kena baca lah juga apa dia tanda-tanda. Next slide. Tanda-tanda pornography ni bila anak kita addicted. I'm not actually covering that, but I just want you all to know what pornography is all about dulu. Another new thing sebab sexting. Now pornography ni kalau kita statistik dia ada banyak pasal boys tau. Boys ni sebenarnya dia memang dia can actually 1.5 year after your puberty, you will go into an era called the sexual exploration. Si Fatih Hamzah semua tak lagi lah ni kan. Tapi nanti bila dia start ada ni, they will start to wonder what happened between men and women when they are just on their own in the room. So you all pun ada juga dulu. Semua sekarang ni jangan macam masa I dulu bagus je lah kan. Kalau tak je lah, you suka je sebenarnya. Contohnya during our time dulu agaknya the knowledge is not easily accessible. So for girls, kita baca buku-buku romantic novel kan, yang ada yang sometimes macam erotic sikit ke. But these girls will actually go through their sexual exploration through imagination and fantasy. Fantasize, they imagine. So yang dalam buku-buku tu, the tall, dark and handsome hero masuk dalam bilik contohnya macam tu lah. And leave you to just imagine it. But boys, the way they think, they don't imagine and fantasize. They need to have visual stimulation. So this is why, for a very long time, this age group of budak-budak has been peeping ataupun mengintai lah. So that's why in the, putih punya there's peeping Tom. It's not peeping Jane, it's peeping Mary, it's peeping Tom. And kita tengok cerita-cerita Melayu zaman dulu kan. Bila ada puteri raja mandi dekat kali kan, mesti ada yang mengintai. This is the peeping Tom. And they are basically going through the sexual exploration era atau time tu. Now, when we start to mandi behind enclosed wall atau kat kampung ada dinding lah kan, zinc tu dia tebuk je zinc tu sebab dia nak tengok iftai apa benda yang orang perempuan buat dalam tu. And then now of course with this moving video, start off with the VHS yang besar yang 4 segi tu kan, this tape tu kan, so it's so difficult to bring around. Then it become compact disc pula, lagi senang lah. Now everything is online. And this fit into dia punya curiosity. Okay? So kalau I think pornography ni macam ni je lah especially you all yang kat sini, budak ni they will have seen it. So tolonglah jangan ingat suci sangatlah anak you tu. So I think it's easier to actually deal with it when you accept the fact that anak you memang dah tengok. Tak mana dia tengok apa semua tu is another thing, tapi dia dah tengok. Kalau dia kata tengok dah? Belum. Bayang lah tu. Memang dah tengok. To me, if you actually accept the fact that anak-anak kita dah tengok, the strategy is different. Daripada you are in denial je. Anak orang lain mungkin you anak tak hafaz Quran 30 juzuk. Hafaz 60 juzuk pun. Janganlah aduhai kan. Come on lah. I susah hati betul parents yang jadi deny macam ni kan. I think it's more it's more strategic to actually accept the fact that there are so many opportunities for them to have access to it. Boleh? Ni yang liberal Dr. Har ni. I'm not just liberal. I mean, well, if you label me a liberal, up to you lah, but I'm just being pragmatic. You know? Okay. Now, next slide is about sexting. Pornography tadi is mainly boys ya. Adalah juga budak perempuan ni, tapi sexting ni dia terbalik sikit. Sexting apa? Dia tu definition dia. Is sending, receiving, forwarding sexual explicit messages, photographs or images, primarily between mobile phones, mobile devices. It may also include the use of computer or any digital devices. It is actually this, you know, this kind of communicating sexual messages. Now, ada orang kata sexting ni okay antara husband and wife, you know, as a prelim untuk sexual intercourse malam tu, dia sudah hantar macam. Well, I guess I don't know lah kan, but if husband and wife need that as a part of your foreplay, pelik sikit lah you ni. No, I'm sorry lah kan, you know, tapi this is unfortunately more, tu sebelah tu is actually the example. Kan? Nanti dia akan minta lah just one picture. I just think you are so sexy. Lepas tu dia kata, I don't know. I don't want you to show my picture. I don't want you to show my picture to your friends. I swear I will not show anyone. Ever? I promise. So, hantarlah gambar. And this one, unfortunately, girls are more for this one. And I read a few articles, dia kata, girls coming from a very restrictive background and culture are actually more prone for this. Sebab agaknya kalau yang dah tak pakai baju, nampak sikit je keluar tu, dia tak ada sangat lah dia nak hantar gambar-gambar. Ini budak-budak yang cantik molek pakai tudungnya pergi sekolah ni, dalam bilik dia jadi macam setan. Jadi they actually send practically everything. Sometimes kan they are so obliging that kalau misalnya the other person at the other line tu kata, okay, I want to see your your breast. Dia kan dia gambar breast. Okay, I want to see this and that. Minta maaf, sampai to the most private part pun dia hantar juga. You might not realize this is the thing ya, tapi sebenarnya macam tu. So next slide, kalau you tengok in some recent statistic, 53% of those who sexting are girls. As compared to 47% tu is actually boys. Tapi sebenarnya girls, this is where girls exceeding the boys lah in terms of ni kan, pornography. So and then you can see that the girls actually share more of their nude or semi-nude photograph, and this is quite recent in UK ni. I think somewhere in ada punya date tu tak? November, teachers in UK has been sort of brief about this sexting codes, macam NIFC is nude in front of the computer. GNOC is macam FYI lah kan, for your information. IMHO in my humble opinion. WRT with regards to contoh so yang ni P999 parents alert. Ada PIR parents in room. So dia tak boleh nak cakap lah kan, the parents in room. These are the codes. This is actually in the teachers punya briefing. So the teachers in UK are actually being told that these are actually the codes that they are passing around lah when they are having this. So now the next one, this is a sneak peek on statistic on sexting. Nampak for the of all teenagers. This is quite recent, 2016. Posted or sent sexually suggested messages, and then you tahu lah, girls actually 20% of girls report sending semi-nude, and 18% aja of boys. Tadi lah. 11% of teens aged 13 to 16 have been involved with sending or receiving sexually. This is actually quite worrying lah kan. Now, next slide. Now, sexting can be dangerous. It's very important, because 70% of that is actually related to blackmailing, yeah, and then child pornography, yeah, and cyberbullying. So this is another thing, yeah. They can be very dangerous with this. It's like, kalau tengok, we have to be very aware that anak-anak kita punya songs are all very sexy songs and video clips, yeah. Macam Zayn Malik punya Pillow Talk tu pun sendiri actually, yeah, if you look at the lyrics, anak kita duk lah nyanyi pasal dia suka the music tu. Dan the lyrics dia is like, oh my god, yeah. I think satu lagi, Dust to Dawn ke sekarang ni pun, ya, kalau kita tukar ke jadi Dust to Dawn untuk tahajud, tak apa jugalah tu. Tapi it's not that, it was not never intended for that, kan? Yeah, okay, next slide. I have to tell you about teenage dating punya lah. Next slide lagi. Tak upgrade kat sini. Alright, okay. You have to understand the teenagers, kenapa dia nak date tu. Dating is just part of growing up to me lah. Yeah? Dating is a very special social relationship whereby it is intended for intimate relationship. You are starting to tengok orang tu compatible ke tak dengan you, macam tu lah. That is what dating is all about. Cumanya in this case, untuk anak-anak kita ni, okay, next slide. Dia ada satu, yang masa kita dulu mungkin tak ada lah, you know. This is called cyber dating. Next slide. Yeah, okay. This online dating lah, boy meets girl in the virtual world, you know, and of course this is the time where you might not see the real person lah kan. Okay. And in this cyber dating sebenarnya, next slide, you wouldn't know siapa the other person tu. Next slide lagi. Halizah tidur. Okay, sorry. So you see the other wolf tu bang. Yeah. Dan yang kat sebelah sini, this lamb ni, dia tak tahu yang sebelah lagi tu memang musang lah. Dia ada. And then, ni my profile, sexy, single and wealthy. Padahal tengoklah orang dia. Yeah. So you can always, you know, just put up your file tak apa-apa gila lah kan. Ini sebenarnya dah married pun, you know. Married and not single and definitely not wealthy lah. Yeah. So next slide. I guess parents has to know about this potential online predator. Yeah? Kita memang facing a world where unfortunately adults are the one who manipulate and exploit these innocent children lah. Yeah. So girls are more likely to be harassed. Female are more likely to post personal photo. Yeah. Ada pula yang jenis memang narcissistic sikit lah kan, gambar dia dekat Facebook ke, kat Instagram ke, tak lain, itu dia je. Ya, saat dia cantik macam ni lah, macam tu lah, pelik betul lah kan. There's so much love on yourself tu. And then nanti pula adalah pula dia musang bulu ayam ni, cantiknya kan, I really like your eyes, lagi lah seronok. Ya, pelik betul lah kan ya. Okay, next slide. So the consequence of teen dating is important ya. Once they start to date, next slide. Okay, there's definitely correlation between the earlier you date, the earlier the sexual debut activity, and there will be definitely more sexual partner because you know, the sexual activity starts early, and of course, you know, because of tak ada precaution and everything tu, they become pregnant, yeah, unplanned, and the bullying and harassment, and of course now. Kalau kat US tu, they have to deal with this dating violence. Imagine lah kan, tengah date pun dia boleh violence. Boleh jadi bini lagi ke? You know, and this is actually pathetic lah sebenarnya kan. So we are producing men and women who are so aggressive. And this come still over kan. Of course you all pula agaknya anak-anak you all pergi to this kind of school. And you're sending them into this kind of society kan. I can imagine lah macam mana you all punya worries into this kan ya. Okay now. Of course kita tengok pula kita punya consequence of bahana seks bebas. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. So ini more of caption dalam newspaper lah kan. Okay, next slide. Kita tengok memang anak-anak ni janin-janin ni lah yang jadi masalah. They have definitely a rising trend in terms of teenage pregnancy in Malaysia. Ya. Next slide. Kalau kita tengok bila dia je pregnancy yang katakan unwanted ni, you ended up with 4 A's. Satu is acceptance, penerimaan. Itu selalunya dia kahwinkan yang anak tu. Ya, nanti kita come back to this. Yang A yang kedua adalah adoption, yang akan ada pengangkatan. Dia tak nak jaga budak tu kan. A yang ketiga is abortion. Sometimes I letak A yang pertama untuk abortion because anybody who's pregnant out of wedlock nowadays, dia tak nak bawa jaga anak tu, memang dia akan resort for abortion. And nowadays pula abortion bukan mesti yang pergi jumpa doktor untuk this vacuum, DNC ke apa, tak payah dah. You tahu you're pregnant 5 weeks, 6 weeks, you tak nak, you boleh actually take all this medication. Mifepristone lah, misoprostol lah, so this one is di Malaysia, mifepristone RU486 ni, dia tak ada lagi, kita memang tak masukkan lagi and license ni. Tapi anak-anak kita can easily get it from Singapore and Indonesia through the online saja. Within 3 days sampai dah. And it's such a small tablet kan, boleh masuk dalam surat aja kan. Okay. Sekarang memang tak boleh nak kontrol punya. Sekarang ubat pun kita memang hantar pakai pos laju je sekarang ni. Patient tak payah datang kat klinik kan, nak buat apa datang dengan parking dengan apa sebenarnya. So let pos laju hantar kat your doorstep kan. Itu belum lagi suplemen, tak apa-apa berapa banyak botol lah kan. Okay, next slide. So kan macam abandonment ni, next slide. Abandonment ni kalau you tengok pembuangan bayi ni memang kita champion lah sebenarnya. The trend is actually increasing. Cumanya the media has a blackout. They are not supposed to report. So kita pula as public ni, bila dia tak keluar surat khabar, kita rasa benda tu dah tak ada. I was congratulated lah tu. Prof sekarang ni tak ada dah ya, budak-budak yang buang, congratulations lah, your effort. Saya latih mana pula. Cumanya they don't report it anymore. So it cause a lot of unrest in the society kan, tak kata. And then I'm sorry lah kan, kita punya current government, they have macam no priority pun isu macam ni. Kita ni rasa ya Allah macam mana nak jadi ni, macam dia apa dia, tak ada apa pun. Itu yang sakit hati tu. Right? I think and then this need a multi-pronged, multidisciplinary, multi-professional approach kan. And of course the money must be there lah. So bila kita tanya where's the money to solve all this social ill, we have given it to the ministry. Dia punya mentality macam tu lah. Ministry apa? Ministry Pembangunan Wanita, Keluarga dan Masyarakat. One of the biggest ministry after Ministry of Health. Dia kena look for everybody. So duit yang dia dapat tu, okay ni social ill ni padahal dia patut ada mungkin put it under the PM office itself, patutnya lah kan. So daripada situ pun kita nampak lah macam ni kan. Now remember Dah kata ada unplanned pregnancy, selalunya dia akan boleh jadi acceptance. Acceptance ni, this lead to a child marriage pula. Kan ya, kahwin umur 13, 14, sebab pregnant. Husband pula 17, 18. Kan, and of course lepas setahun dia cerai. Kan ya. And dulu, my mother was married at the age of 14. Dan baru dulu dia kahwin tu is more like untuk merapatkan dua keluarga, and the two families were actually really behind this marriage kan. Hari ni the fact that a 13 or 14-year-old got pregnant by a 17-year-old boy, you know that these two teenagers are byproduct of dysfunctional families. So bila you kahwin dengan pula dia orang ni, imagine these two dysfunctional families, they are so dysfunctional. And then you rasa dia will support this two. Memang you gila lah kan. So, yes, you create more problems sebenarnya kan ya. Okay, next slide. So kita rasa macam how do we prevent this lah ya. This is a well-known fact that teenagers who report that they receive comprehensive, the word here is comprehensive sexual education, are definitely 50% less likely to experience an unintended pregnancy. And for scientists ataupun social activists, this is a very important data lah sebenarnya, you know. Daripada ada 100 orang pregnant that year, but if you have a comprehensive sexual education, it will cut down to 50, you know, in terms of, you know, planning and everything. That's really a very significant reduction lah sebenarnya kan. So what is comprehensive sexual education? Itu yang kita nak kena bincang the next phase. Sebelum tu Dr. akan tanya kalau ada soalan sikit ke, tapi we need to now define what is actually comprehensive sexual education. And what is the price we have to pay if our sex education is not comprehensive lah. Yeah, okay. Nah, berhenti sekejap. Ada apa-apa nak tanya up to this point? Yeah. Yeah, that's the theory lah. It's all multifactorial sebenarnya. Oh ya, yeah, tak tahu kan terang. Okay. One of the sister tanya, I did mention about girls involved in sexting ni kan, trying to broadcast themselves ni, kan ya? Ada some article that shows girls are raised up in a very restrictive background, particularly of culture, macam kita punya culture lah kan, budak perempuan tak boleh lah nak show off sangat ke, lepas tu kena pakai tudung. Sekolah yang jadi budak lelaki kat sini, budak perempuan sini contohnya kan. Yang itu tu sebenarnya kenapa yang dikatakan they are more prone to sexting ni? Is it because of self-confident ke, ataupun satu lagi you kata because apa tadi? I wanted to be loved. So my answer is that they are multifactorial. It will be very interesting to actually do a qualitative study and ada PhD thesis agaknya for, you know, girls who have been found to be sexting, and you want to know why, kan? And then you might see a few factors and you can rank it lah kan. Now we are also facing at the same time what we call father hunger. Have you heard of this? Father hunger, okay. The fact that our fathers, I hope insyaAllah none of kita punya spouses here lah agaknya kan, the one yang tengah dengar semua. But it seems that men who are not committed to their family and causing what we call father absenteeism, ya, dia tak ada, bapak dia ponting, ya, atau bapak dia maybe ada but not effective at all. Dan dia buat hal dia sendiri ke, apatah lagi kalau dia, you know, having affair, remarried ke, dan tak peduli langsung anak-anak dia. The one yang is going to be most affected is ada teenagers, boys and girls, because dad ni is dia pun the son's first hero and the daughter's first love. Okay, so coming back to sexting and girls and restrictive ni kan, so budak-budak ni satu dah lah, kita tak bagi dia mix dengan budak lelaki. Kadang-kadang dia rasa that is fitrah pula kan, bapak dia tak bagi attention tu tak. So dia memang macam hunger for all this love and recognition. So of course lah yang tadi tu predators tadi cukup senang lah nak ngap pula. And these predators, they can smell you from far, you know. Dia agaknya, and if you realize kan, orang perempuan yang sekarang ni contohnya, you see them as icon and success women contohnya kan. One common thing that they share, they have very healthy relationship dengan bapa ni. They are father's daughter. They will always remember their father as somebody protective, who loved them unconditionally, and that build up their confidence. Okay? So on the other hand, kalau your father is not there, confidence tak build up, you are forever hunger for recognition. Itu yang Dr. Hasrul kata, kita ada a good example in Rasulullah SAW yang actually role model how it is to become a father to girls and women. Sebab anak-anak Rasulullah SAW yang lelaki memang Allah meninggal waktu muda kan. And then dalam Rasulullah punya parenting Fatimah tu sebenarnya it's a good example of how men should actually raise up, girls to become women of the future, who will become mothers pula. So I do not know how you all be in relationship dengan your father, but it's going to affect you. Yeah, and that is one thing. You might enjoy a very strong relationship dengan your father, tapi anak-anak you pula, husband you has not been a good father like yours for instance. And you know that anak-anak you ni tak dapat je. So I selalu minta orang lelaki, you all mungkin salah like your husband semua. When your daughter becoming adolescent, that's definitely not the time for you, for father to shy away daripada anak dia. Ada juga yang jadi segan dengan anak perempuan tu. Pelik betul bapak. Tak tahu lah kan. So anak ni dia sebenarnya kena lagi you banyak spend time dengan dia. Sebab anak ni sebenarnya dia selalu nak tahu ini cantik ke tak cantik. I mean that is common lah kan, gitu kan. Am I presentable or not? Dan sebenarnya kalau anak ni selalu dapat reassurance daripada bapak dia, kata selalu puji anak dia kan, you are pretty, cantik anak ayah ni. Of course kan. I selalu cerita macam ni kan. Kan kita at one time dulu benau pula anak-anak perempuan kita ni sat-sat pergi Lombok, lari ke Lombok kan, kat Pulau Lombok tu kan. Ada one time semua kan. Sampai kita kata apalah Mamat Lombok ni merayak anak-anak kita. Ya bukan macam tu kan. Maybe lah dia orang pandai lah sikit agaknya nak give that attention and that ayat-ayat yang orang kata apa sekarang ni dia panggil pikat line tu lah. Kalau katalah budak-budak ni pakai pergi sekolah, nak pergi sekolah ke sana tu pun dekat bus stop ni. Seorang kat situ. Ya, tiba-tiba datanglah Mamat Lombok ni duduk dekat tunggu bas juga. Mula tengok atas bawah kita dah tak sedar hati lah kan. Tiba-tiba dia kata, Neng kamu cantik ya, dia kata kan. Kita pula, kalau misalnya bapak kita memang selalu puji-puji kita, ada kita kisah orang cakap macam tu. Ya, si Mamat dia kata kamu cantik ya. Budak tu kata memanglah. Bapak saya cakap hari-hari. Kan? And then you can go to hell lah kan ya. I nak pergi sekolah ni. Tapi kalau budak ni memang tak pernah bapak dia cakap macam tu. Dia tiba-tiba ada this one man. Dia bagi attention sikit. Sebenarnya kalau yang itulah kan. Pakistan, Bollywood, muka Bollywood sikit. Memang senang je dapat isteri kat Malaysia tu. Ya, dia bagi ayat dia sikit je dah, lembik dah lutut. Ya, and then kalau yang tak pernah dengar bapak dia cakap dia cantik, tiba-tiba ni Mamat Lombok ni cakap memang Lombok ke sana dia pergi sana. Dia tak pergi sekolah ni. You know, because that's I think please lah kan, kita kena raise our, I don't know about your experience. Sudah tahan sendiri, masa I have a very strong relationship dengan arwah bapak. You know, memang dari kecil memang rapat sangat dengan my bapa. I contributed a lot that I had now to my father with me lah. Yeah? So pernah lah Jahanam masa tu dapat surat. Biasalah kan budak-budak sekolah Jahanam tu kan. So I pergi sekolah naik basikal. Nak balik tu kat carrier tu ada satu envelope coklat panjang tu. Wah hati pun bergul lah kan ya. Siapa pula tulis surat ni? Bila tengok surat tu, I know who actually wrote that letter. My classmate lah juga kan. So, half of me feels very excited about it. Oh, at least somebody notice me. Kan ya? It's very important ya untuk budak umur macam tu. That somebody notice me, I'm presentable. I mean, actually at least for this one person. Tapi half of me kata, habislah ni memang my father mesti marah ni. Kan sebab I ni anak qadi. You know, habislah I ni kan. So, I baca surat tu, adalah my friend kata, boleh tak nak jadi teman istimewa, macam tu lah kan. Pecah kaca, pecah gelas. Lepas baca, harap balas. Jangan kan ya. So kan, I remember cycling home, laju-selajunya lah kan ya. Balik tu, actually straight to my father. Selalunya bapak I share with my mother kan. Tapi yang ini, this is my father punya territory kan. Sehingga lagi arwah bapak masa tu dia, nak solat Zuhur maknanya. Dah berdiri dah nak siap-siap solat tu. Tiba-tiba dah kata, bapak kan. Ada budak gila ni tulis surat. Kan cakap Jawa lah. Yang macam konjol ni, budak gila ni. Lepas tu, I was very sure my father kata tak apa, tunggulah bapa nak solat dulu kan. Tapi tak tau dia. Masya Allah, ingat lagi dia. I can still remember this in colours. So that's how vividly you remember things yang significant kan. You can sometimes smell juga lagi kan. So my father just turn to me and say, and then dia duduk dekat katil kat sebelah tu. Maknanya dia tak teruskan nak solat tu kan dia. Kata, apa pula tu tulis? So I buka lah. I baca tu kan. I was so ready kata mesti bapak dia marah kan. Tell me yang apa benda semua kat dia kan. Tiba-tiba when I look up kan, dia tengah senyum tengok I kata, memanglah nak bapak dah besar, pandai, cantik, baik pula akhlaknya. Mesti orang suka. Saya tu nak buat apa dengan surat ni? Ada buang je lah surat tu kan. And I remember very well, I just, terampal di surat tu pun tu. Kat tu sampah, kat luar bilik tu. I did not know that my father saved my life then, Who needs this kind of letter lah when I got this from my father? When my father said, I'm pretty, I'm clever, akhlak, and that's what I was suka kat I got it all lah sebenarnya kan. Of course itu I did not realize it, but later on I realized that was the one sebenarnya yang buatkan I feel so brave with this world ni lah kan. So tu antara how a father dia mungkin tak payahlah show affection sangat ke apa, but I know nobody loves me like my father did kan. So bila doktor dapat anak-anak pula, alhamdulillah ustaz tu memang dia sifat dengan adik dia ni. I have another daughter Dina. Memang selalu dating lah dengan bapak dia. Nak beli barang ke apa, satu dia lah bapak dia yang ni kalau doktor ajak dah jugalah yang kena bayar kan. So dia hantar lah. Saja dia main je lah. I mean, this is their time lah. Dating. Nanti bila balik daripada situ nanti, ayah jangan cakap kat Umi lah. Alah kita kata, alah ada rahsia rupanya kan. But dia share something yang mungkin dia tak boleh nak share dengan mak dia kan. Patut sebenarnya. So, yes. Yeah. Okay. Sebenarnya there is a real threat to that lah. That father hunger dia panggil. Father hunger for boys. Okay, macam ni je lah. Yang fathers ni kita kena bincang sikit. Tapi selalu macam ni memang mothers dah datang kan. Fathers ni, ada soalan juga. Okay, soalan pertama ni kata predator. Okay, soalan ni, how to educate our boys to become men rather than predators to women. I will answer yang ni juga sekali dengan soalan ni. I think it's high time kita look into how we raise our boys. And in fact, there's a book, siapa yang tulis buku ni? Dia kata pasal boy crisis. It's very important you all read this book. It's quite recently published. Dia cerita macam mana boys are raised to be aggressive and violent men. And they are mainly, this is after the mass shootings kan, yang dekat Florida baru ni. And all those mass shooters, they're being raised without fathers. There is one very consistent fact about it. None of these mass shooters actually grew up with a father. So, yang most recently, I think they adopted tentu juga kan. So, their father days never do that. And I want you all, I know you all tend to feel that anak-anak ni semua kita lah punya territory kan. Kita lah yang raise dia. But fathers are very important. I would say 50% of parenting comes from the father lah sebenarnya. The fact that the father is not involved, macam yang kata sampai meninggal atau divorce ke apa tu, it means that anak kita is very high risk. So I'm sorry lah, siapa yang divorce ke ataupun please lah bila orang tanya ke atau you want to maybe comfort yourself, how are the children? Oh, they are okay. Tak maaf lah, they are not okay. Okay, please. The fact that you say they are okay to worries me so much because they are not okay, okay? They will always think that they are the cause of the divorce, even though you say, no, that has nothing to do with you. You takkan dapat faham yang tu. And they will always feel that it most probably it's me. And they will try to find that answer kan. And furthermore, kalau kita separate them with their father, and sometimes divorce kan can be very ugly juga kan. 24/7 tu budak-budak tu dengar macam ni you mengata bapak dia. Of course lah that man now is your ex lah kan. But he will always forever be your children's father. And nothing can change that kan. Itu sama juga dengan orang lelaki yang duk mengutuk mak budak-budak tu aja pun serupa jugalah. You are destroying their life. And they don't understand how people can be so close until diorang lahir in between the two of you. Suddenly you hate each other so much. They don't understand this. That's why dalam Quran memang kalau talak ke apa memang bil ma'ruf bil ihsan. Dua tu. Kena dengan ma'ruf dengan ihsan. At least it will actually minimize the damage lah kan. Ya? That's why kadang kita tahu mak ayah kita tu, ya Allah, they are so incompatible. Tapi agaknya dia fikirkan kita ni kan, they stand each other lah juga kan sampai berpuluh tahun ni yang tahu. You know, agaknya kalau they had their choice, they would have gone their separate way lah. Tapi sebab kesian ke anak-anak ni kan. So to me, any one of you who stay in a marriage, because anak-anak Allah bless you lah. Kan at least lah kan. For the sake of budak-budak tu. So now, okay, men kan sebenarnya, kalau kita tengok dalam research, it shows that anak-anak kita learn dia punya social skill daripada bapak dia, more than dia learn daripada kita. So if your husband is a very quiet man, who always being aloof in a gathering ke apa, jangan terkejut lah, anak you jadi macam tu lah. Walaupun you ni chatty lah macam apa, macam mulut murai pun anak you untuk bapak dia juga. Yeah. So then that is actually, mungkin adalah seorang dua yang ikut you lah agaknya, but they are actually mainly shaped by their father, tahu kita mana. So boys pula kan, dia akan tengok bapak dia, macam mana bapak dia handle the conflicts. And without that, they will always choose aggression. Dia akan choose violence. The boys, dia wired that way. Girls pula look at their father for this kind of affirmation and also this kind of acceptance and recognition. Otherwise, they go around father hunger ni, and they are the one yang paling easily fall into these predators. So I think kalau nak macam mana nak raise boys tu, I rasa macam now for us perempuan kan, you have to realize that you are actually the emotional pillar of your children. Anak lelaki you will look into you, will look at you, macam mana dia nak role model emotional, macam nak handle emotion dia. Boys will look at you that way. Girls pun. Tapi girls dia sebenarnya lebih kepada emotion juga. That's why, tapi emotion you tu lebih macam ni you relate dengan orang lelaki ke relate dengan bapak dia tu macam tu lah kan. So now the question about raising boys, I think for women ni, I think kita kena raise sweet man, you know. Bukannya bapuk punya man, bukan lembik ataupun, sorry lagi using all this word. But men who are very confident to express their emotions. And it's not easy actually to. I just had a very pleasant experience about 2 weeks ago. Ada soalan satu lagi Should a mother have a similar relation? Okay. So then thanks Pak. Kejap. I have to wait until right. Mother pun sebenarnya dengan anak lelaki dia, I think this is also very important lah macam Tuhan nak cakap tadi ni. Anak lelaki will look at you macam mana nak handle emotion. So if mothers kan are very emotionally unstable, you're not yet depressed tapi very unstable. Sekejap you garang, sekejap you are so loving, sekejap nanti you buat kat kisah pun dekat dia orang. Oh, dia orang kelekabut betul lah. Dia tak tahu macam ni, macam you ni. Kau siapa yang tengah buat PhD ni, dia lah kan ya. Tapi I guess you need your husband to help him lah masa ni. Ya. Tu yang sebabnya kena habiskan cepat lah your thesis tu. Ya. And then grad pun. Doktor ingat masa doktor nak habis my training, one of the most important factor is actually Syifa dengan adik-adik dia lah. And of course my husband juga. I think they have gone through enough. You know, and doa tiap-tiap hari, ya Allah, please, kesianlah kat dia orang, kesian kat air. Let me just finish this within the time. So dapatlah GOT tu. Yeah? Because rasanya any extra time is actually taking away from them too much dah. You know, they have given you so much. So, itu antaranya lah. Now, I'm not trying to put pressure lah kan. Tapi anyway, jadi mak ni rupanya, sisters kan, yang jadi ibu yang tengah mendengar ni, you are the emotional bedrock of your children. So you have to be, memang kena tenang emosi tu. Anak-anak tak boleh nampak you, marah je kan. Grumpy je. You're not with them gitu tu kan ya. So, and then dengan anak remaja pun lain juga. Anak lelaki especially macam dah cakap tadi, anak-anak lelaki akan tengok you macam mana dia nak relate emotion dia. So siapa yang ada boys semua-semua tu memanglah kan. You might be the only woman in the house, but you are supposed to be the most emotionally stable. Kan ya. Kamu nak cakap tadi pasal I have one son. Actually ada dua, ada Syifat pun lelaki juga yang nombor 2 tapi meninggal masa dia 3.5 months. So far dah memang Allah jaga lah, dah jadi motivation untuk datang dengan Ustaz. Kalau malam-malam nak buat kerja dakwah kan, ingat nanti kan Sofwan tunggu Umi Ayah nak masuk syurga. Tengok Umi Ayah tak sampai-sampai ni kan. So okay. Kita jadi motivation lah yang tu. Yang ada ni Syamil is my third child sebenarnya, tapi the only boy now. Of course it's a wonder to me. I'm very privileged to be given an opportunity to raise a boy kan ya. Siapa yang ada 3 pun kan, insyaAllah. Walaupun Rasulullah kata siapa yang ada anak perempuan kan 2 atau 3 tu semua, tapi anak lelaki pun of course lah kan ya. So hari tu, masa tu dia pergi office Dr. Hal sekejap, and then I did not realise that dia tengok gambar Dr. Hal yang ambil mungkin 10 tahun lepas lah, in one of the student camp, and I was wearing my tudung yang warna macam maroon sikit macam tu lah kan. And that day I'm wearing the same tudung punya colour tak. So dia tengok gambar tu, dia kata, Umi, you look pretty Umi kalau Umi pakai tudung yang warna macam ni. Just like today, you look so pretty and nice. And that time macam blown away lah kan. Rasa and he said it out with a lot of confidence, you know. And it doesn't macam malu sikit ke macam tu kan. And I did not realise the impact of that to me kan. Mungkin lah tadi mesti nak jack ni kan, sebab kita tengah nak belikan kereta dia kan. So kan nak jack Umi dia. Tapi I know this is so sincere daripada dia. I just hold him in my arm and I said, thank you son. You know, that means so much to me. And the woman who's going to be your wife is going to be most fortunate woman on earth. Well, Allahu Alam. Tapi I feel that he has managed to connect with his emotion, and that's very powerful. So, dia tak rasa yang nak memuji seorang. And of course, dia kena puji mak dia dulu lah sebelum dia puji tu sesiapa kan dalam. So Dr. Hal ada satu lah, kalau nak melintas jalan ke mana, I will hold to my son's hand. I want him to hold me and feels how it's like to hold a woman's hand, and it's his mother. And of course, there will be no other woman who will take my place. And then so, bukan tak boleh melintas jalan tu lah, boleh lah, I've been travelling on my own. Cuma when I have my son there, letak je tangan tu dekat tu. And he knows that. Dia bila dia jalan, dia akan buat tangan dia macam tu, I will just put my hand there and walk lah. And I feel very proud that, he feels it's totally okay to be seen with mak dia kan. This big mama beside me is my mother. I don't care what you say. Okay? So let's raise that kind of boys lah kan. Boys who will stand for gentlemen lah. Kat British ni, the culture dia ada satu, dia raise gentlemen. Now, it's not just men who open doors for you, who pull chair for you, more than that. Women who will always know that it's their responsibility to make sure that women are respected, women are taken care for kan. Well, okay, sempat ke ni nak buat satu lagi fasa ni? Dah habis dah? Boleh sikit lagi? Okay, now let's go to the next one. Parenting navigate. Okay, next slide. Okay, Faizal, next slide. Okay. To me kan, sexuality ni is actually more like navigating lah. Macam main layang-layang tu. Kan layang-layang ni you kena bagi dia terbang. Tapi you tak boleh let go habis betul-betul. So it's like macam main tarik tali juga. You lepas sikit and then you control sikit. Kalau you lepas terus tak tahu ke mana lah layang-layang ni kan, tersangkut aja dekat tiang elektrik mana-mana kan. Tapi kalau you hold to it je, dia tak take off langsung pun. So, I know this can be very, very worrying kan, tapi okay. Next slide. Let's talk about pendidikan sexuality. Okay. Next slide. Next slide lagi. Okay, Dr. Har ada, like, I've written this book with my friend Harlina Omar, tapi dah habis dah, dan dah tak reprint. So, most likely saya time all buat a new edition dengannya. I will try to do this dengan Zaid, my another partner lah in this sexuality ni. When you talk about pendidikan sexuality, it's always the what, the why, the how, the when kan. Semua tu. Next slide. Buku ni dia memang ada bagi guide sikit. Cumanya dari sudut pendidikan secara umum, not just sexuality. Profesor Hassan Langgulong dia kata any educational any education is intended for making changes. Kalau nak kata anak kita terdidik ke tidak, there must be this delta ataupun changes dalam 5 dimensi ni. 5 aspek ni. Kita ada berlakunya perubahan positif. Perubahan negatif, okay. Negatif pun maknanya ada pendidikan juga. Tak betul pendidikan yang negatif lah. Okay. Mesti ada perubahan pertama sekali dalam konteks akidah dia. Bila anak kita dididik, dia makin mantap akidah dia. Lepas tu dia akan menghasilkan perubahan dari sudut akhlakiah. Akhlak tu adalah the immediate product of your iman. Ya, orang yang iman dia bagus, akhlak dia memang bagus dan sebaliknya. And kerana iman dia berubah-ubah satu hari tu yang pagi macam malaikat, petang macam setan, you know. And if you are actually buat benda yang tak elok, you tak boleh cakap macam I kan sebenarnya iman I bagus, I just, you know, I mungkin jahat macam betul iman I nombor 1. Tak ada, dia tak buat macam tu. You know, iman you sebenarnya, akhlak you sebenarnya is the first indicator, the most sensitive indicator to your iman. Ya. Lepas tu, lepas ada perubahan akhlakiah, barulah ada perubahan akliyah. Akliyah, itu dari sudut kognitif, daripada tak tahu kepada tahu, boleh sintesis, boleh analyze, boleh create. Ya. And then kena ada perubahan insan yang sikap, yang ni yang penting ni. Kadang you ada ilmu tapi sikap you still tak elok juga. And so anak kita, dia mesti ada rasa sayang kat orang, hormat kat orang. Orang datang rumah, tetamu, macam mana dia layan, tu soal sikap. Ya. And finally, jasmania, psychomotor. Unfortunately, kita punya pendidikan banyak stress only on 2 aspect. Akliyah, psychomotor. Akliyah, psychomotor. Akidah is a private domain. Akhlak pun, it doesn't matter macam mana akhlak you, that is also your personal domain juga. And of course, insaniah is another thing. So ni yang pendidikan seksual, Islam ya, pendidikan dari perspektif Islam. Next slide. Kalau kita pendidikan seksualiti tu apa sebenarnya? Brothers and sisters, kita kena faham ya, bukan anak-anak je yang kena ada pendidikan seksualiti ni, you all tu pun. And because sexuality is so dynamic and it changes as you age, it become a lifelong learning process. So you have to internalize that sexuality education is a process, a lifelong learning process, where knowledge and information about sexuality is actually obtained, and it changes your attitude and your identity, your relationship. Yeah? It is going to macam dia akan menghasilkan perubahan kepada hidup you sebenarnya. Ya? Dan dia merangkumi semua aspek. Ya? Next slide. Okay, yang tu yang saya masukkan tu. Dan seterusnya, yang macam saya cakap, yang you punya pendidikan seksualitinya. Pendidikan seksualiti kena yang sebelum tu MCiB yang macam saya cakap tadi tu. So the next time you want to talk about this, you have to have this in your mind. Ya. Next slide. Apa objektif utama pendidikan seksualiti? Sorry, dia ada yang tu ya. Kalau dalam PowerPoint benda ni ada animation dia datang kemudian. Tapi sebenarnya tujuannya untuk membentuk individu yang seimbang, sejahtera dalam seksualiti dan reproduktif, dan yang paling penting tu mampu membuat keputusan yang bijak related dengan seksualiti. So dia tahu dia tak akan ada seks lagi yang selama mana dia tak cukup matang, dan ada orang yang akan responsible dengan apa-apa yang jadi dengan diri dia. So they will not engage into sexual in early age macam tu. Yeah? So yang penting nak membentuk individu yang soleh wa muslim. Kita tahulah selalu anak soleh, anak soleha. Can you not extend it a little bit more? Kita bukan sahaja nak anak kita soleh dan soleha, tapi dia juga musleh dan musleha. Apa maksud dia? Dia dia baik dan dia memainkan orang lain. I think it's high time kita raise this kind of individual in the society. Dia bukannya anak kita je bagusnya anak kita, anak orang lain dah kasar pilih dia lah. No, anak kita tu bagus kerana dia, mana dia pergi, dia membaguskan orang lain juga. Dia jadi prihatin, dia jadi cakna, dia jadi peka. Kalau tak dia jadi macam kita lah, wah family I je yang bagus. I think it's too much lah this one. Hidup yang I je, you je ni. Yeah? Okay, next slide. Siapa dia remaja yang sihat daripada aspek seksual dia? Sebenarnya remaja tu dia ada 4 perkara kalau ikut Mary Baxter ni. Satu, dia hargai tubuh badan dia. Harga tubuh badan ni janganlah ingat, okay letak harga price tag pula kan ya. Payudara dia RM50, semua RM80, bukan macam tu. Tapi dia treasure themselves. Dia bertanggungjawab pada setiap tingkah laku dia. Hari ni I'm sorry lah, kadang remaja ni bila apa-apa jadi dia kata ni mak dia lah, ayah dia lah. Dia cepat-cepat je salahkan orang lain, dia tak ambil that tanggungjawab. Dia mampu berkomunikasi dengan berkesan dan terhormat, ya. Dan dia mampu meluahkan rasa cinta dia dan keintiman itu dengan cara yang sesuai dengan umur dia. Itu important juga, ya. Okay. This is outcome-based education. At the end of your parenting, anak-anak you ada 4 ni when it comes to sexuality lah. Ya. Okay, next slide. Apa ciri-ciri ibu bapa yang anak dia remaja dia sihat seksual dia? Semua ni antaranya mempunyai pengetahuan luas tentang sexuality. Tapi kalau you tengok kan, your relationship dengan husband and wife tu important sebenarnya. Dia menunjukkan sikap dan role modeling yang sihat dalam aspek sexuality. There's no power gradient. Anak-anak ni kalau dia nampak macam mana bapak dia pukul mak dia ke, hina mak dia ke, tak peduli pun mak dia ke, that's a very powerful message. I'm sure you have heard those who abuse wife dia ataupun ada very abusive relationship kan, anak-anak yang lahir daripada situ, anak lelaki akan tend to abuse juga spouses, ya. Dan anak perempuan will tend to marry those who will abuse them juga. Dia that kind of mentality tu. Anak dia pun akan kahwin orang yang agak abuse dia juga lah. Dia tak ada that dia tak ada that kind of profile yang boleh kata no to this kind of violence. There is a very very high tendency for that. So sometimes ada yang and you know lah, domestic violence ni dia tak orang miskin-miskin aja ke, tak. Dia all walk of life, all level of status of economic, ya. Tapi cuma the higher you are in the social hierarchy tu, the more difficult it is to handle domestic violence. Cuma kata I ni hanya kena abuse dengan ustaz macam mana nak cakap ke orang. You tend to ni kan, takkan kot, takkan kot. Apa yang jadi. So any one of you who is actually in this relationship, you have to decide. First to come out from your closet tu. Duanya to actually make your decision. If you want to stay on that relationship, you are giving a very negative signal to your children. Your children will grow up thinking that being abusive is okay. Yeah, that's the only way to solve problem lah sebenarnya kan. Okay, next slide. Dia macam tu. Dia ada yang dia tak mudah menghukum, ya, non-punitive dalam aspek sexuality. Dia tahu anak dia masturbate, dia tak gantung budak tu kat dinding, dia letaklah kan. Like, dia amot dalam aspek yang lebih banyak berbincang gitu ya. Okay, ada lagi. The next one, kalau you tengok membantu anak dia, lagi. Okay, yang ni. Membantu anak tu nak memahamkan nilai, pegangan hidup. That's why sexuality education, ladies and gentlemen, start at home. Starts at home. Tak boleh start kat sekolah because sexuality education is not taught like chemistry, biology, maths, tak. Budak yang best student maths ni, kadang mak ayah dia pun illiterate pun, tak tahu baca benda mengira pun, tapi budak tu you boleh ajar dia macam mana nak jadi nak buat maths kan, ya, dengan IQ yang dia adalah. Tapi not sexuality education. Sekolah tu, ingat tak dimensi yang 5 tadi? Sekolah is more for the socialisasi. Tapi the rest mesti ada kat rumah tu. The fact that you're not teaching sexuality education is a big education by itself. You know? Anak you sebenarnya, I tak ajar benda-benda ni. Boleh tahulah itulah sexuality education kat rumah tu. So anak-anak kita kena clear apa kita punya value in terms of sexuality. You know? Kalau you all rasa, oh this is restricted, tak boleh cakap. Anak baru nak tanya, Umi, adik keluar kot mana? Kebetulan you tengah tunggu sama belacan. Actually, makcik menurut kamu sekarang. That's it. Itulah dia your education. Kan? Ataupun you kata, okay, tak payah respect kakak ke adik ke. Ya, sampai dia orang boleh macam senang sangat dengan adik-beradik. Kau kena jaga juga. Ya, kenapa bila 7 tahun ke atas bila dah memayis, kakak tidur tempat lain, adik tidur tempat lain. Semua ni kalau tak, you raise a very liberal family yang tak ada restriction, tak ada apa kan. Okay, so these are things, yeah. Next slide. Okay, these are the 2 slide yang last ni. Macam mana nak tingkatkan kemahiran you all? Satu kan, you memang kena ada kemahiran nak memperkenalkan pendidikan sexuality ni pada anak-anak ikut usia dan kematangan. And actually anak-anak you kalau ada 4 ke 5 ke, they all are going to grow differently. I would assume, I would suggest to you all can start your education tu. Dia nak tanyakan bila nak start. Bila nak start tanya. Yeah? It can be as early as 3 years old. It can be sampai 12 tahun pun dia tak bertanya. Ada juga yang macam tu. Yeah? Tapi kalau to me, it depends on how you. Some of us memang enjoy a very good communication dengan anak ni. Some of you memang tak. Jenis yang jenis anak ni marah je contohnya kan. Ataupun anak tanya elok, suara you naik je macam tu kan. So anak-anak tak nampak you as a reliable source of information lah sebenarnya kan. Ataupun bila anak-anak tanya, no, we're not going to discuss this. Dah lah habis lah. Ataupun anak-anak kita sebenarnya dia okay kalau kita kata kita tak tahu. You know, like, and especially 21st century ni kan, you know what, I don't know myself, but I promise you that I'm going to look out for this answer and I will tell you tomorrow insyaAllah. So apa-apa pun dia anak kita tanya kat kita and we always have a very intelligent answer to that lah. Okay, so pada tahap ikut kematangan dan usia anak-anak tu, roughly lah kita kata anak-anak kita bila dia start tahu tentang diri dia akan tanya. Dia tengok adik dia perempuan, dia lelaki, dia akan tanya kenapa adik dia punya genitalia tak macam dia. And then macam ni you nak sebut all those genitalia and sexual organs. Are you going to pakai yang macam kita lah, ada all this nama-nama. So kita ni bukan apa kalau sebut yang nama Melayu tu mencarut kan. Lucak, tutut kan macam mana. So I think budak-budak ni pakai the medical term. Penis, genitalia, vagina, clitoris, tenang, itu very wrong tu. You sebut anak you bebat kan, yang orang ada Cik Tom ada hari tu. I'm sorry lah kan. Dia kata, mak mentua I, doktor suruh panggil Cik Tom. Cik Tom? I said, I memang first time dengar. Macam-macam, flower, ada panggil flower, kan? That's why, so kan, jadi kan, budak-budak ni, when you actually name all this with different kind of name, it means different connotation for different people. Kan? I don't know, I mean, because that's not the name. Kita ni nak baik sikit lah, kita pakailah nama-nama Arab, thinking that it will be better. Itu apa je? Zakar, ya kan? Mungkin Siraj, tapi sopa juga sebenarnya. And that's not their, I do not know, it's up to you all lah. Lepas tu nak penuhi keperluan emosi anak-anak ni, tadi yang kita cakap inlang ni kawan. Peranan bapak lah especially nak didik anak lelaki, anak perempuan ni. Especially in sexuality. Sexuality ni to me is more you need your husband to be on board lah. There are certain things yang kita tak boleh nak buat. Yang man has to do lah, man has to do. Okay. Datuk pernah, when I was, my son, famous this son of mine, it's what happened that I only have one son. Masa dia umur 4 tahun ingat lagi. I'm sorry, the time memang minta izin lah kat dia. I need to tell this kan in term of experience, nak bagi contoh dalam konteks ni. That you have to be ready to answer all these questions. Sebab if you wrongly answer this, it gives out a very wrong message across, and your children might lose their confidence in you lah, and they will not go back to you for any information later. And now you have the internet pula that is going to replace you very easily. Okay? So lagi masa tu tengah mandikan dia tanya soalan yang dia kata, Umi Umi suka penis adik, maksud dia adik, tak ada adik, panjang ke pendek? Dia macam tu, very innocently. Of course my instinct is like, oi, astaghfirullahaladzim, macam mana nak jawab soalan ni? Ni Dr. Harlina ni, kan? My first instinct is just to smack him and say, jangan cakap macam tu, kan? Benda kotor, But for a 4-year-old, the fact that they notice there are certain organs, some part of his body that can change in size. I know how inquisitive he is. I know how observant he is. And true enough, now, such an observant boy. So, alhamdulillah, 30 juzuk dia dah habis dah. That to me is a power of concentration lah kan, kalau nak habis 30 juzuk dalam umur 13 tahun tu kan. So, tapi masa tu, alhamdulillah lah masa tu, saya kata, okay, I need to make sure that dia punya observation punya skill ataupun dia punya ni is well in place. Bukannya this is not wrong sebenarnya kan. So I answer untuk sesuai untuk budak yang 4 tahun. And apa untuk budak 4 tahun? Dia hanya kena tahu penis is just untuk urination, tu je. Dia tak tahu pun the sexual function of it yet. Tak payahlah cerita macam, So I said, okay, Umi suka dua-dua, panjang ke pendek sebab adik punya penis is very important for you to pass urine. Kan? And what is the problem with boys at that age? They keep on trapping that penis in the zippers kan? Kan dia joget kan? So that's why kena jaga elok-elok masa pakai seluar semua, tak mau dia trap dekat zipper tu sebab nanti sakit. Nak buang air kan, nak kencing sakit. Okay. And that's enough. Untuk 4 tahun cukup dah tu. Dia tak payah break tahap apa. Yang you jadi kelang kabut tu sebabnya you tak tahu nak cerita apa kan. Jauh sangat. You lah sebenarnya yang problematic, bukan budak tu. Nah, but of course if he ask me again now at the age of 21, memang dia nak kena je lah. Kan, So, yang tu I will handle it differently lah kan. Cumanya these are things yang you have to So, okay. Sikit lagi, satu lagi. Menunjukkan contoh baik sebagai role model husband and wife tu. Okay, now bawah lagi. Ni I was actually involved dalam debate ni lah, bukan debate lah, more of pelaksanaan pendidikan sexuality di Malaysia. So to me, dia punya falsafah dan objektif pendidikan sexuality tu kena menjurus kepada sikap yang seimbang dan sejahtera. Kita punya falsafah pendidikan tidak boleh menjadikan anak-anak kita konservatif sangat ataupun liberal sangat. Kita kena menjadi seimbang. Dan dia mesti dilaksanakan serentak, formal, informal, merentas kurikulum, sokong oleh sikap ibu bapa yang betul. It's very important. Dan kandungan disesuaikan dengan kematangan dan kesediaan pelajar, bersifat anjal dan accommodative. It must be inclusive, every children are included. Tapi kalau dia sampai umur 10 tahun pun tak tanya apa lagi pun, dia kena risau juga. You kena bertanya kat dia apa yang dia tahu sebenarnya. You'll be surprised they know so much. Cuma dia tak cakap kat you. Sebab dia tahu you punya reaction tu is overreacting kalau dia tahu. Kan? And then memberi tumpuan kepada kelompok yang berisiko tinggi. This is actually strategi lah. So, budak yang berisiko tinggi yang dah sexually active semua tu, they need a different strategy. Yeah? So, okay. So ni just nak tengok gambar-gambar je lah. Okay. Data suggest you all memang ada tarbiyatul aulad fil Islam ya, sebab chapter 6 ke chapter 7 on pendidikan sexuality. Yang dia bahagikan kepada tahap mumayyiz, ya, tahap yang prabaligh, baligh dan remaja macam tu. Ya, so kalau anak-anak tu dah tahu ada macam malu ke semua tu, macam katalah bayi-bayi awuk semua tu kan. You kena make sure dia kena knock the door bila pintu umi dengan ayah tutup. Ya, tak boleh kacau. Yeah. Yang ini we all memang ajarlah anak-anak ni. Kita tak buat apa pun dalam bilik tu. Just nak bagi tahu dia pintu tutup kan. So ingat lagi Syifa dengan dia pun tak ingat agaknya. Duk knock. Umi, Assalamualaikum. Ya. Lepas tu, Assalamualaikum ayah. Kan, dah 2 kali kan. Lepas tu dia orang. Assalamualaikum Umi ayah. Lepas tu dengar suara Syifa kata. Syamil. Umi ayah katakan kau 3 kali bagi salam tak jawab, jalan. Jalan tu je. So terus ni kan. Benda tu bukan dia kena tahu dah privacy. Al-Quran je lah. Ya. So surah An-Nur ni. Pasal yang waktu isyak, waktu subuh. Surah An-Nur maksudnya. So pendidikan seks dari perspektif Islam adalah juga ni. Ataupun yang kesihatan yang Dr. Han cakap tadi kan. Okay. Next slide. I think you can find this book here. Dr. Han beli ni dekat borders kat New York. Malaysia memang tak boleh lah masuk. Benda ni buku yang diharamkan ke memang tak masuk lah. But tak ada. Ini tak ada. Borders dekat Times Square pun tak ada. Ya. Dia prefer tak masukkan lah kat itu. Dia tahulah tu pelik kan semacam konservatif tak bertempat ke sini. Ini konservatif tapi iklan haram tu kan. Yang so konservatif tu pun sebenarnya so this one is actually Robbie Harris ni. Robbie Harris ni dengan dia punya illustrator dia gambar dalam ni semua illustration. Dr. Har dengan Ustaz Zul berijtihad lah. Taklah kata jadi boleh sampai level ijtihad lah, tapi pandangan we all gambar-gambar ni is educational punya elemen ataupun bahan bantuan mengajar. Dia bukannya untuk arousing your sexual excitement dari tu. It's not pornography to us. Tapi kalau gambar yang mungkin flash yang still foto yang daripada gambar manusia yang tu dia regard that as tak sesuai lah untuk jadi bahan ni kan. So dia ada level dia ni untuk 4 tahun, 6 tahun, 10 tahun macam tu. And then where did I come from? And so Syifa grow up dengan buku ni. All dalam dia, next slide. Yang ni yang is so amazing ni. This is actually untuk budak-budak yang banyak dah bertanya tu. So dia punya kartun ni seronok ni. The Amazing Sperm Trip. Yang ni dia buat macam mana actually sperm being produced dekat testis. And then nanti dia akan go through this. Lepas tu nanti dia akan masuklah ambil dia punya ni semua. And finally, next slide. Yang ini pula is actually eggs punya menstruation. I don't know, being a medical doctor, I find it very easy to explain to them according to this cartoon lah. Yeah, and it is so fun. Budak-budak seronok sangat. So, ini Syifa dengan adik-adik dia punya bedtime story. Sorry all, I actually make it a bedtime story. So, we all pernah sekali, dalam ni adalah gambar-gambar tunjukkan. Yang dah suka tu dia tunjukkan pada baby sampai orang tua. Macam mana, naked lah. Tapi dia gambar illustration. So for us, we have no problem with that. And dia tak tunjuk yang the model, macam model yang figure glass. Tak. It's the typical men and women macam kita ni kan. So budak-budak ni is very desensitized towards all this nude punya gambar semua tu lah. Then that time, sekali tu, I was talking to them about this. Ingat lagi kat ruang tamu tu, and then hari Ahad rasanya. Lepas tu tak pergi masak. So dekat ruang tamu tu bersepah buku ni. And then suddenly my son Syamil masa tu 10 tahun ingat lagi. He went running to the kitchen kat tengah masak. Lepas tu dia tarik kain nak tahan. Umi, lucah tu apa Umi? Tak tahu tu kata rupanya I'm not saying that bagusnya lah rumah Dr. Hari kan. Cakap lucah pun tak ada. Cuma at the age of sampai anak yang umur 10 tahun tu, we never use the word lucah. Dia rasa lucah is tak ada dalam vocabulary dia. Tiba-tiba dia datang, Umi, cakap apa? So of course I have to, Syamil dengar dari mana kan? Macam Firdaus ni anak my friend, doktor juga. Kat sebelah, just separated by the dinding ya. Dia datang, datang, nampak buku-buku ni dekat atas lantai. Oh Syamil, banyaknya buku-buku lucah awak kan. Apa lucah ni? When running, macam tanya I. So I said, well, that's the value in the house next door. I'm not criticizing. That might be the best way they want to raise their kids kan. They have all boys. I have 2 girls and why? Kalau boys kena cakap macam tu ya. I don't agree tu. Tapi anyway, I raise my boy. Dia tak pernah dengar tu Pak Lucah sampai 10 tahun tu until that day. So my reading material yang macam ni, we don't consider this lucah in the house. Tapi dekat rumah sebelah ni still lucah. So that's it lah. Kan ya? So I think to me, this give me an opportunity. Okay, next slide. Yang ni tadi. Lepas dia dah siap-siap tadi tu, dia go to this travel. So actually bus their friends semua. And then dia pergi sana. And then dia jumpa this ovum. You know? And ovum ni satu je kat situ. So ovum ni make up lah tunggu kan macam tu. I think it takes a genius lah to be able to illustrate this. I wouldn't be able to do this lah. Kan? So it give me an opportunity to explain to Syifa dengan adik-adik apa dia ovari apa ni. Tapi itu pun masa dia masuk sekolah dia akan dapat lagi benda yang lain juga kan ya. Okay, that's right. Habis, finally you all, this is what I've been engaged into the whole of 2017. Kita ada this campaign dengan Durex ni, talk now, protect always. Cara sekarang lindungi sentiasa. Main objective for parents to open up and talk about it. And this is desensitizing. But I think parents plays a very important role to be the source of information for your children. Jangan sampai anak-anak you tengok you ni tak reliable atau tak boleh cakap dengan umi dan ayah ni. That's why they actually turn to internet and everything kan. Next slide. So these are among other things ya. Dalam tu kita ada dia punya myth and everything semua. And we also have yang untuk young Malaysian. So this is intended untuk yang budak uni pula. So I actually went to university and talked to maybe close to 10 session. Next slide. Habis dah. Alright. So akhir sekali, brothers and sisters, agaknya kita kena tahu macam mana cara nak jadi rakan karib anak-anak kita. But to me, sexuality education cannot be delivered if you are not enjoying a strong relationship dengan anak-anak. No way lah. Ya, kalau you jenis yang garang-garang je kata anak you jauh je dengan you susah. You memang kena rapat dengan anak-anak. So I know we make a lot of mistake. So I think zaman ni especially untuk teenagers lah Tapi yang ada anak teenagers, I think kan, you perasan kan masa anak tu kecil rasa seronoknya. Bila dia jadi teenagers, dia turn into monster. And then kita rasa macam, tahu betul budak ni. And then budak tu pun nampak mak ayah dia pun jadi ada tanduk juga. You know, so we were really at each other's throat sebenarnya. No, you have to, the main thing is because you are so afraid for them. And then dia orang pula kata, why are you not trusting me? Tak ada alasan need to be trusted. You need to put them at the driving seat tu, driver seat tu. I know it's frightening, but you are there, you know. And then they do not want to be on their own juga. They want to know their parents are around, okay? And then make commitment untuk you lengkapkan diri you sendiri dengan ilmu yang perlu. And in terms of sexuality ni, if you realize from my information tadi, there's so many gaps in your own knowledge, please lah. Ya, agaknya beli Robbie Harris tu you baca dulu. And then baru you tahu macam mana, how do you present all this. But I'm sure none of you actually know how to, sebab kita dulu mak ayah kita pun tak buat ni kan. Okay, tanya mak ayah kita sekarang pun tak, mak ayah dulu selama je kan ya, kamu. Now, satu lagi, kita kena buat perjanjian untuk sama-sama baik hubungan. Let's make a promise. You improve your akhlak, umi pun dengan ayah improve our knowledge juga. So we'll meet in the middle. Dan banyakkanlah doa. Yang ini penting you all. Macam mana nak doa kan ya? Aku ada doa-doa yang maksud yang kita dah baca. Tapi Ustaz dengan Dr. Hal ada doa sendiri ya. Doa apa begini. I'm sure we cannot protect anak-anak we all ni daripada all these elements ni. And it might influence them. They have to go through it lah, they make mistake. I want them to learn from their mistake because mistake is actually an important teacher. Cumanya I doa ke Allah, dengan ustaz dia, doa. Anak ni, dia sebenarnya nak jadi jahat tu, dia bukannya overnight tau. This is something yang parents tak kena perasan. Dengan anak tu jahat, abrakadabra, ting, dia jahat punya. Tak. Dia ada mula-mula dia tipu you dulu, lepas tu dia cuit-cuit sekejap. This is the time where you need to know. So that you can have early intervention. I'm a doctor kan. Anything, disease ke apa, in the early part tu, you boleh deal with it. Okay? So, please ya Allah, kalau misalnya anak-anak I ni start derailing, please show it to me. Show to us so that we can intervene. Having said that, you janganlah pula terkejut beruk kalau tengok, anak you tengok pornografi. Suddenly anak you masturbate ke? Anak you suddenly ada chat dengan budak perempuan ke, suka budak perempuan, jangan terkejut lah. Dah doa kan? Allah tunjuk lah. Kalau you tak nak tu yang you rasa anak you baik, you tu pregnant je dah. Kan? By then it's too late dah kan? Budak yang pregnant tu, dia bukannya ada seks sekali je tau. Maybe ada lah, tapi most of anak-anak remaja kita yang pregnant, they have repeated exposure. That's why they become pregnant. You know? So, please lah, janganlah jadi parents yang in denial ni kan. And so far, Dr. Han memang makbul lah doa tu, Alhamdulillah. Okay, next slide. Okay, ni. So, ni masa dia kecil-kecil dulu. So innocent lah kan. Masa Dr. Han dulu, agaknya kita punya sea of adolescent tu macam tu je lah kan. Tenang je, boleh pakai sampan kulit je, tak ada GPS, tak ada apa. Anak-anak Dr. Han punya zaman adolescent dan remaja dia ni semua macam tsunami tu ha. Kalau pakai sampan kulit tu memang capsize lah kan. So they need this transformer. Dia macam mungkin boat aja, bila dia capsize terus jadi submarine. Jadi submarine. And to me that is actually bekalan iman, Islam, ihsan plus pengetahuan sexuality tu lah. Tapi mestilah ada nilai dan asas dia. Okay. Next slide. Habislah dah. So itulah dia ya. Kemenjadian anak ni dia mula dengan kemenjadian mak bapak dia lah. Apa dia words kemenjadian ni? Dia tak ada dalam kamus dewan. Tapi dia sama juga dengan keberkesanan. Kan? Berkesan, kita just letak keberkesanan. Kemenjadian. Jadi inilah doa-doa yang kita kena selalu doa. Rabbana hablana min azwajina wa zurriyyatina qurrata a'yun waj'alna lil muttaqina imama. Yang cantiknya doa yang Allah karankan untuk kita tu. Macam ya Allah tu suruh kita doa kat dia. Dia ajar macam mana cara nak doa dengan dia kan. Waj'alna lil muttaqina imama ni. Jadikan kami imam kepada orang bertakwa. So insya-Allah tahap ketua ni mestilah lagi tinggilah daripada orang lain ya. So itu yang kita. So Allahu alam, habis kat situ. So 3 soalan. Apa pendapat? Dia sama dia macam ni. Betul ada satu slide tunjukkan macam ni you intervene untuk pregnancy di kalangan remaja ni. Dia macam ni. Sebelum anak-anak kita kenal apa dia sexual intercourse tu ataupun pernah merasa keintiman seksual tu, you boleh buat preventive measure macam bagi ceramah, bagi education yang anda bijak jauhi zina, campaign safe sex lah, apa semua tu. I think it still works lah. And majority anak-anak kita memang belum sexually active lagi. So you need to empower them with that. Jangan jadikan dia orang rasa macam kalau dia orang tak ada hubungan seks lagi tu, dia orang ni kolot kampung sangat, tak boleh. You need to upgrade dia punya self-confidence. Tell them that they are practicing the best contraceptive in the whole world. That is not having sex. It's a contraception. Abstinence nama dia. Tapi kalau dia dah ada je hubungan seks, sorry lah ya, yang kaedah preventif ni dah tak jalan sangat dah. So you have to have a different strategy untuk mereka yang memang dah sexually active. So kalau doktor ni, ini preventif. Tapi kalau yang dah ada sexual activity tu, you kena bagi ubat lah. Dia prescriptive. Now, apa dia prescription dia? Lepas dia ada sexual intercourse, dia bukan buat sekali. Dia buat repeatedly. Tapi dia pregnant tu nanti satu masa lagi. So there will be a time where dia orang tak pregnant lagi. Sexually active but not pregnant. And I'm just talking, belum cakap pasal hukum agama ni. As a doctor, what is the most effective way to prevent teenage pregnancy atau unwanted pregnancy? By giving them contraception. So this is more we call responsible sex lah kiranya, bukannya safe lah. I would call it responsible sex lah. Maksudnya you nak ada seks tapi tak nak pregnant lagi, so you have to use whatever methods available to prevent yourself from being pregnant. So guys kena pakai kondom lah. Oh ni Dr. Harlina liberal ni kan ya. Tapi that's the most practical way. Kalau budak tu memang sexually active, I'm sorry lah, you might have to resort to this tau. Anak you duduk sini and you dah bagi tahu and you know dia sexually active juga. And of course budak-budak ni dah, kalau misalnya dia dah memang dah balik, dia memang ada dah dia punya account sendiri lah. So much yang kita boleh buat pun. So there must be, kalau budak perempuan, they might take birth control pill ke apa, but that would prevent unplanned pregnancy. Nah, katalah dia become pregnant juga. Dia early part of pregnancy, I'm sorry guys, you have to think about abortion juga tau. Sebab dalam Islam, abortion tu tak terus daurat haram lah. Dia kena look case by case. And in fact, Islam is the only sensible religion that deal with this. The most practical as compared to yang mungkin ni. Ni lagi liberal, dah benarkan abortion. No, I'm just putting it forward, yeah. Because abortion, the earlier it is, actually the easiest and the less risk. So, you boleh lah cakap sekarang ni bukan anak-anak you tak pregnant lagi. Tapi once anak you pregnant, alhamdulillah, that would be the first thing that comes to your mind. You know? Yes. You will call Dr. Han. Boleh tak Dr. Han? Ada kena look into that possibility. Because the next thing is that you have to deal, kalau you tak abort in this time where you can abort, you will have to deal with the real pregnancy ni. Okay, katalah anak you tak cakap kat you lah kan. Tiba-tiba, tahu dah besar sangat. Too big untuk abortion. Itu rumah harapan, sekolah harapan. Rajatul Sakinah, sekolah harapan. I do not know apa masuk pendapat Dr. Har. Dr. Har rasa, satu pendapat Dr. Har, if you are already at this stage, sekolah harapan tu is one of the intervention lah where you might need, you can put the child away sekejap untuk support dia punya behavioral therapy ke kan. Sometimes they are depressed, sometimes they have macam juvenile delinquents, so you need them to agaknya rehab lah ni kan. Kita panggil rehab, anak-anak tu panggil imprisonment, incarceration aja sebenarnya kan. Tapi kita kata rehab lah. Itu pandangan Dr. Har kan. Ada juga yang pandangan sekolah-sekolah ni lah yang menyebabkan budak-budak ni lagi seronok nak ada ni. Baru ni masuk kat forum kan. Ingat ada forum. Dekat kuis ni dengan mahasiswa-mahasiswi. Malaysia cakap lah, oh Dr. Har, saya tengok Dr. Har main aktif dengan Rajatul Sakinah apa semua, which is part of sekolah harapan lah kan. Tapi bukankah doktor, kalau doktor lagi banyak rumah-rumah macam ni, kita menggalakkan remaja untuk hamil luar seks atau luar nikah? Allah. Dia macam ni tau, remaja ni, if that is actually what you have in mind, siapa yang bertanya tu kan, you're asking for my opinion kan, I don't care what your opinion lah kan. Tapi if you are the one you're having this opinion that, oh inilah cara kita menggalakkan, let me tell you something, okay, on the ground. Agaknya you never been on the ground, you don't know. Budak-budak ni kalau dia ada seks, dia tak pernah telefon lah rumah sekolah harapan ke, Rajatul Sakinah ke, tanya, ada tak kosong? Kenapa ni? Saya nak ada hubungan seks malam ni, pokok saya pregnant, boleh tak saya tak ada lah, none of them bothers. They're only starting to look for this parents dia sebenarnya yang kalau kabut mencari tu. Bila dia dah pregnant. And then dia punya urgent lah sangat nak hantar budak tu macam tak sempat lah. Ya, doktor saya nak hantar anak saya pergi rumah, pergi Rajatul Sakinah ni. Hari ni juga. Dah siap dah pack barang ni. Bila dia beritahu puan dia pregnant pagi ni tadi. Pukul 11 dah telefon dia. Saya hantar dia petang ni, wah kemana ni dah cepat. Dia tak tahu punya banyak queue tu, panjang queue dia. There's a lot of processes ya. Steps yang before dia boleh masuk situ. Dan kita tanyalah kan, tak tahu kan anak dia ni memang ada this kind of lifestyle, sexually active. Tahu tapi tak mengandung, tak apalah. Itu attitude mak ayah kita sekarang. Yeah, you all ni mana pernah dengar ni kan, ni bagi tahu ni. So that is actually yang buatkan to me sekolah harapan tu dia kena ada as part of the intervention lah untuk mereka yang dah pregnant ni dan nak something to be handled, to be done. Dan kalau dia beranak pula, kat situ ada isu pula. Nak diambil, ya, nak dijaga, kena ada social supportnya. Kalau nak diangkat pengangkatan, dia kena proper channel dia. Kalau tak dia jadi human trafficking pula. Kan, jual baby pula dah. Dan kalau tak ada option macam ni, tu yang dia buang untuk tong sampah tu. Abandonment ada dua pula. Intended to live or intended to die. Intended to live yang dia masuk dalam Moses basket tu, wrap up betul-betul, letak botol susu satu, letaklah satu infant formula satu tin, letak duit RM50 dalam surat tu, and then letak, namakan saya Harlina contohnya ya. Lepas tu bawa, tengok-tengok dah nak azan subuh, lagi 5 minit azan subuh sebelum Bilal datang surau tu, letak baby tu dekat tangga surau. That is intended to live. Yeah, intended for somebody else to discover and take care of the child. Intended to die, yang memang dia masuk dalam plastik hitam tu, dia flush ke, dia letak dalam tu sampah, dia bakar tu sampah, semua ada. Okay, satu lagi. Addicted. Dua-dua adik. Okay, yang soalan ketiga kata nak cold turkey ke atau ada gradual ke, nak marah atau mujuk. Okay. First, when you know that your children are already addicted, this is a good time to reflect on your parenting. You know, if you are, your monitoring is quite, bukan nak kata macam like a hawk macam tu tak, tapi if you are vigilant enough and you have spent enough time with your children, I personally feel they would not become addicted. You know, they would have, you would have noticed that they might go in that way. Tadi yang nak minta doa tadi kan, jangan sampai anak you dah addicted lah. Tapi the fact that dia dah addicted tu maknanya it is actually a bit it requires more intervention. To me, the children need professional punya evaluation, assessment, and juga help. So now psychologists and psychiatrists pun ada yang pornography addicted punya specialist pun dah ada dah. Ada Malaysia pun ada. Tak berapa ramai, tapi dah ada. Kat sini lagi ramai lah. Yeah? They might even put them on some medication juga, just like macam addiction. There would be some discipline, that no access to internet, but dia memang akan dapat cold turkey lah. They become violent and everything. Kesian lah sebenarnya. And you know, pornography ni dia ada very significant impact on the adolescent brain. Sebab brain kita memanglah masa adolescent tu dia still very plastic kan. So it requires, I think, the whole attention. Sebenarnya mak ayah macam ni lah kan. Kadang anak-anak kita ni, I just handle one case yang my friend beritahu. Budak ni bagus tau sekolah. Dia selalu nombor 1, top 5 lah. And then lalu dapat hadiah, atlet pula kan, atlet harapan semua. Tapi 1 year tu, masa dia form 3 ke form 2, dia tukar langsung. Dia jadi delinquent tu. Tak pergi sekolah, lepas tu start merokok semua lah kan. So cikgu aku lah tangkap guru besar ni, panggil mak ayah dia datang. Mak ayah dia datang lah. Dan bila cikgu dia tanya, dia kenapa you suddenly change? Dia kata, mak ayah, this is the only way nak suruh mak ayah dia pay attention kat dia. Masa dia pandai, masa dia sports, ayah dia tak pernah datang. You know, untuk you know, being with him. Masa dia, you know, having all those those achievement kan. So budak-budak ni dia nak attention aja. So dia rasa okay, kalau I tukar pula lah, I jadi seteruk-teruknya, let's see how dia. Dia kata it work. Baru bapak dia cuti, mak dia cuti, datang dia jumpa guru besar. So that's what yang dia nak buat terus. So dia become, barulah. So I think that is also macam wake up call untuk kita kan. Kita sebenarnya masa budak-budak tu buat yang positif ni yang kita kena bagi dia that encouragement. You're proud of them kan. Tapi Dr. nak minta you all kan, puji anak-anak ni bukan puji dia punya wah, awesome-nya, you are beautiful, you are you know, pemata pintar, you are awesome. No, please lah. Itu jadikan dia more narcissistic aja sebenarnya, you know. Tapi you have to praise them, their effort. Effort tu important. They will bring up a growth mindset. Kalau yang tadi tu, yang you puji-puji dia punya talent, ability dia tu aja, dia akan buatkan budak-budak dia fixed mindset. And finally they become so fragile. Dia orang tak nak failure sebab failure is something very humiliating. You know, and then they cheat, they plagiarize because they do not want to look stupid. So you have to, basically to me, this is sexual education ke apa-apa education. Anak-anak you kena rasa selamat that they can become who they are when they are with you. They do not have to become another person just mainly because they want you to accept them. Kan? So itulah dia kan, agaknya kita ni kena going back to satu, kita hari tu tak ada anak, minta anak kan. Allah dah bagi anak ni, so syukurilah anak-anak tu kan, ya, jadi ni agaknya kita ni. Ada lagi soalan? Last one. Dah kan? Okay. Ada dua, okay. Kena concise, okay? Okay. Sama je.
Malaysia banyak sistem support.
Okay, I think if that is what you meant, kat Malaysia banyak lagi program macam dekat sini mungkin tak. To me, there is some additional apa orang kata benefits raising your kids in a more katalah homogeneous and Muslim majority lah kan. Tapi raising them here juga ada advantage dia. That your children yang memang ada izzah yang kuat untuk jadi Muslims in this society where Muslims are minority. Tapi kat UK ni bukan minority sangat dah pun kan. Tapi so I guess you have your own problem jugalah. To me, tapi kan actually kan, don't you think that the world can be whatever, but it's how you raise them in this house tu sebenarnya yang going to make the whole difference. Kan? And agaknya that's how fair Allah is. You might be the only family in Iceland agaknya kan. But Allah has given you through his buku wahyu Allah dan juga Rasul itu, macam mana nak raise them. So just follow that. Having that support system is an additional ni lah. But even then pun, orang yang penuh dengan support system Muslim nak jadi diri pun, misalnya yang nak tahan dengan anak saya, doktor, tiap-tiap cuti je saya menghantar pergi program jati diri ni, pembangunan ni, beratus-ratus dah habis. Dia punya perubahan sekejap je, mula baiklah. Sehari dua hari lepas tu buat macam tu lagi. Apa pandangan doktor? Saya rasa macam ni lah, Encik boleh hantar dia ke 100 lagi program jati diri. Kalau yang di rumah tu tak berubah, dia akan balik macam yang biasa. Oh, tu yang saya rasa, minta maaf nak kata kadang-kadang, apa kata kita lah pula yang pergi program jati diri kan. Kita pula lah agaknya kena ajar diri kita balik ataupun macam you all have license to parents. That's maknanya macam katalah kan, you need license to be able to drive kan, because you must know how to drive so that you wouldn't be a danger to others or to yourself kan. Ada yang pergi sekolah mak bapak ke ada? No, I just expected to know how to raise kids. Kesian budak-budak ni tau. Okay, next one. Soalan ni. Alright, okay, next. Alamak. Okay. Okay, satu, I think that fact that Allah kata penyusuan tu 2 tahun sampai susu 2 tahun. Di dalam Quran ni tak banyak tau limitation ni. Mungkin kalau misalnya talak idah dia 3 kali huruf tu kan, tak tahu berapa ada yang kata 3 kali suci, ada yang 3 kali kotor head. Tapi dia ada time limit. Kalau contohnya kita kematian suami, berapa hari kita punya berkabung, itu ada. Satu lagi, nak susukan anak ni 2 tahun. So there must be reason for that lah. Doktor punya pandangan is that 2 tahun lah, sampai kan. Beyond 2 tahun, anak you tak menyusu lagi sebab nutrition. It's more like clinginess, more of that thing. Yeah, so you 2 tahun. And this is my own personal lah, not backed up by any study. Especially so if your child is a son, it's a boy. Beyond 2 years tu, I do not know lah, but that will be an interesting another PhD thesis lah kan, tengok macam mana. To me, those yang tak boleh nak sampai-sampai tu, I think because you punya leadership lah, you know, you punya sian kat dia macam tu lah, ya. Some of you actually dah mengandung, menyusukan juga. Itu lagi lah kan. I'm okay. Tapi kan ada satu hadis yang saya jumpa. Tapi hadis tu dia punya status dhaif lah kan. Sebab hanya seorang ni sahabat yang report. Tapi to me, kena faham juga. Rasulullah tegur sahabat ni tentang penyusuan. Takkan agaknya Rasulullah nak cakap ramai-ramai macam hadis yang. So it might be a very enclosed environment, private environment. Dia sahabat Rasulullah nampak sahabiah ni menyusukan anak dia, and she was pregnant as well. Doktor baca tu, dia tanya husband dia. Rasulullah tanya husband dia, kenapa isteri dia mengandung dan juga menyusukan juga? Kan? Rasulullah bimbang, ibarat macam orang naik kuda, tengah elok naik kuda, suddenly orang benteng, orang lain pula naik kuda tu. So dia punya gambaran hadis tu, al-ghailah, dia mana menyusu dan juga mengandung. Yang Rasulullah makna kat situ macam anak yang tengah menyusu tu sebenarnya dah being displaced dengan yang dalam perut tu. You should take all precaution lah sebenarnya tu. Itu jadi salah satu alasan kuat bagi ulama membenarkan macam keluarga, family planning. So kan, itu baca dalam Prof Abdul Rahim Omran punya thesis on family planning in the legacy of Islam. Tapi hadis tu is not macam hadis sahih yang mutawatir ke semua orang ni lah. Sebab I think the nature of that hadis sendiri is a very private kind of conversation kan, ya. Mungkin tak ramai lah, tak ada sahabat lain pun yang dengar pun kan. Jadi tak apa, to me, it is something, to me, the fact that pernah diriwayatkan Rasulullah tak suka, to me that's enough for me to take it very seriously kan. Okay lah. Tidur sekali dengan, dia ada relation dengan breastfeeding. Bila breastfeeding lama, so budak tu pun ngempeng je lah kan, duduk kat sebelah tu. Dan kita pula jenis pula, ya Allah tak tahulah kan, bila ada anak tu tidur dengan kita ni, meninggal dalam pantang apa semua tu, I think understood lah sikit. Tapi sampai dah besar pun, katil kita tu jadi macam bau minyak telon, bau dengan tak maaf pampers, diapers kat situ tu. This is what my mother always say. Katil kita tu kena jadikan dia macam katil masa kita kahwin tu dulu. You know, so I do not know about you lah kan, but Kak Syifat ni kalau pergi supermarket, one of those days yang tak ada masa nak pergi departmental store ke apa, then they know where to find me, dekat bed and linen. Memang kat bed and linen, and I spend a lot on this bed punya set, you know, because satu, that is where I want to unwind, and it's a very special place. And none of these children has any say on that. Tapi of course, dia suka tidur sekali, bukan sejak lah tidur kata dengan ayah ni, memang lah kan. So, tak apa, daripada kena pergi resort je, that is one of the special trip. Kan, sekali kita, okay man, kita 3 orang masa kecil-kecil dulu, semua snug in between that. Sekali-sekali boleh lah. Tapi kalau tak ni kan. So kalau ni daripada kecil lagi sebenarnya, Dr. Harul tak ada crib ke apalah, dia orang duduk atas toto, mungkin dalam the same room, ya. Tapi kalau katalah nak apa, kita punya keperluan batin kita ni, buat kat bilik lain. Not when they are in the room. Never. Sebabnya you never know, dia orang agaknya terjaga kan, tapi dia orang tak tahu. Nah, soalan ni tadi katakan bila tu kan. So to me, the earlier you can separate them from your bedroom, the better lah. Otherwise, a lot of explanation to do. Well, I have handled a few. Ada yang, you know, anak dia tak cakap dengan mak ayah dia suddenly. Ya, budak jah 1 ke jah 2 je. And then, bila macam marah sangat kat mak ayah dia, kita pelik apa dia. Finally, dia boleh actually vent out dengan cikgu dia. Dia pernah nampak mak dia dengan ayah dia tu, tapi dia tak tahu what's happening. And dia rasa ayah dia abusing mak dia. Kan? Jadi, ada one more ni, khawat lah. Telefon pagi-pagi. Macam nak buat ni dia tu kan. Sebab anak dia masa tu, anak perempuan dia, 8 years. Yang tadi tu boy. Yang ni 8 years. Buka pintu, then they were actually having sex kan. Why did you lock the door? Enggak. I tell you, lock the door kan. Tapi of course this 8 years old, dia curious kan. What were you both doing? Dia kata macam tu. What are you both doing? So, okay, you have to get out of the room. I'll explain later. Tapi later tu after talking to me lah kan. Macam mana juga ni. I think one thing when your children caught red-handed macam ni, first you have to ask that child, semua lah umur dia macam mana kan. Dia kata, what were you doing? Dan sebelum kita jawab tu, kita katalah, what do you think that we were doing? Yeah? So, some of them are very smart. I think you're making babies, which is true. Kan? So, tapi serve you right lah, siapa suruh kantoi macam tu kan. Ya? Benda tu patutnya mesti kan ya. Tapi katalah jumpa kan, and have a very intellectual discussion lah tu, and study from there lah. Kan? Anak-anak kita tak tahu apa sebenarnya. Tapi you will say that, you know, I cannot explain too much, but there is actually, you know, the closeness that I share with your father. Orang putih senang lagi kan, kalau cakap Jawa susah sikit kan. And you know, through that kind of relationship that I'm alhamdulillah being blessed with you and adik and yang lain tu. Actually untuk katalah untuk 5, 6, 7 tahun that's enough dah. Tapi kalau katalah dah yang 10 tahun and learn about biology ke, you can actually explore from there. Okay dah, alhamdulillah. Minta maaf lahir batin ya kalau ada apa-apa ni. So hopefully this knowledge ni will help you all up sikit lah kan. Tuhan doakan you all insyaAllah. Saya ikut ya. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Kami nak makan kat sini. Okay.